Hello and welcome back to Spawn Trap's Hit Pause MCU, the podcast that can't tell the difference between its waking life and its dreams. I am joined by Jordan here.
What's
We
going on, guys?
we have been away for a very long time. There has been so much news that we need to talk about. The main topic of today is going to be Spider-Man No Way Home. We kept saying how we're waiting to see it. Or no, sorry, you saw it when it was in theaters, right? I was waiting to see
Yeah.
it. So we were waiting a long time to talk about it. We finally watched it. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. Um, if we have time, there's a lot of like little small stuff that we can add in. But the big news today is going to be Spider-Man No Way Home. There's Doctor Strange stuff. That's the next movie coming up. Moon Knight has just premiered. As of recording this, they've put out the first 2 episodes. We're going to be talking about that. And Miss Marvel trailer and a whole bunch of other stuff. We're going to start off with some small things that I definitely want to add into the podcast. Do probably a longer discussion of Spider-Man No Way Home, because I have a lot of questions about that movie, and there's probably a lot to discuss. But at the top of the show, I want to remind you, this is a spoiler podcast. If you have not watched Spider-Man No Way Home, if you're not caught up in the MCU, if you haven't watched Moon Knight yet, or the trailers for some upcoming movies, we are probably going to be spoiling some stuff. So if you are fine with that, or you're already caught up and want to be part of the discussion, just letting you know, there will be spoiler talk. How's it going, Jordan?
Going pretty good. I'm pretty excited to talk about some of this stuff, actually.
Yeah. First of all,
Good.
you just let's start out the big thing, because you asked me a question. You just watched the trailer for Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Before going into the trailer, what did you know about the character?
The only thing I know about Miss Marvel is probably just from what I know from the Avengers game that I play. So that's it's not a lot. I just know that she has like um what do they call them? That accident that happens that turns them into
The Terrigen Mist.
Yeah, what does it turn them into though? What do they call them? Inhumans or
Inhumans.
Inhumans. So I knew that she was an Inhuman
Mm-hmm.
and that her powers allow her to stretch her body.
And
So very
Biggin.
similar, yeah, very similar to Mr. Fantastic, and she can grow very large.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was just for gameplay, but she can heal herself and her teammates. I don't know if that was just for gameplay or if that's an actual ability that she can do.
You know what? I don't remember from the comics if that is something. I'm sure it probably is. It sounds about right.
Yeah.
The rest of the stuff, yeah, very accurate to the comics. So I feel like the game did a good job of portraying that character.
Yeah.
Now forget all of that, because that wasn't in this trailer.
No.
It seems like they're completely revamping the character, and as a fan myself of the comic books, I really like that. And I always thought, like, when they announced Miss Marvel, like, this was at the time when Inhumans, the TV show, already came out. Everybody had a laugh over the show, said how dumb it is. And that was part of Marvel TV, ABC Studios. This is released as
Right.
a separate thing, trying to pitch itself as involved into the MCU and involved with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did have a huge portion of it involving Inhumans, but those two shows never really linked up to each other. And for the most part, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. references the MCU movies. The MCU movies didn't really mention anything about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and by the last 2 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they kind of spun off and said, we're not connected with the movies anymore, and that kind of pissed me off. But it presented itself to me when they said, we have a Miss Marvel show coming out. I'm like, oh, they're going to have to deal with the Inhumans. So we're going to know soon whether they're going to, forego that show and say it's not canon,
Yeah.
or reintroduce or reboot the Inhumans, or introduce them in some way with this show, because they have to. It's part of the character. Turns out I'm completely wrong. They can just ignore the Inhumans altogether, and say that Miss Marvel gets her powers somehow else.
That's
And
true. Yeah. What I also did notice though from just from the trailer, it looks like they follow pretty well along to her how she is though. Like
Yes.
she's a big comic book,
Hmm.
fan. She's kind of nerdy, kind of like an outcast sort of.
Yeah.
She's very not popular, and like even her parents and stuff kind of seem similar to how her dad was in the video game too. So
Yeah.
I'm like, kind of like that innocent character that she is. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Definitely. Big fan of Captain Marvel as well. Um,
Yeah,
how she gets
she
her
reminded me a
inspiration.
little. She reminded me a little of Kate Bishop from
How
Hawkeye.
she yeah how she is a fan of Hawkeye. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she kind of
Um,
reminds me of that.
from the trailer, actually, I should pull up the trailer here and pull up our visual context rectangle. So we have that. Make sure the audio is off because it's playing copyright music. As much as I love the music, they started with "Blinding Lights" from The Weeknd, so I love that song. I think everything about the vibe of this trailer is definitely true to the character in the comics. So I love it. Yeah, the big
I,
thing
li-
is how they're changing her origins and her powers, which I was
yeah,
skeptical on.
I liked it a lot for that trailer because it's like it's like a perfect teaser. Like I
Yes,
enjoyed it, I was hyped for it, and now I don't want to watch any more before it comes out because
that's true.
I was like, that's a great little teaser trailer. You see some powers, you see some abilities, see a little bit about her, or learn about a little bit about her if you don't
Yeah,
know anything about her, and that's it. I'm like, it was a good teaser.
absolutely. My biggest concern was how they're changing the character, which for the most part, I never like completely against it because I mean Marvel has a great track record, or Marvel Studios I should say has a great track
Yeah.
record when they come to this kind of stuff on how they're changing things to fit the MCU specifically that they've built, because it's its own evolving thing separate from the comics, just takes inspiration from the comics. And they've made plenty of great changes that has worked out for the MCU. Like big ones come to mind as the Guardians of the Galaxy, how they're a lot of those members are different from the comics, and just like examples like that. And
Yeah, they like I wasn't the ring like the 10 rings,
mhm.
weren't they actually rings instead of like
They were.
rings
They
like
were
on
like,
your arm
yeah,
too?
rings on your fingers. And actually, the Mandarin was a different kind of character in the comics as well, and they changed him for the better for the movie too. And I think Shang
Yeah.
Chi's origins altogether, they changed. They like made their own movie. Like they took a lot of
Hmm.
inspiration from the comics, but they made it their own. What was another thing that just came out? I swear they did the same thing with another Marvel project. I can't remember.
I know. I just thought that was really cool because I know we'll talk about more about the Guardians of the Galaxy later,
Hmm.
but there's a scene in Guardians of the Galaxy. If you get a ticket, you can go into the Collector's Emporium in the game,
The game, yes,
and
there you
yeah,
go.
in the game, and he has like the 10 rings are actually like
Yeah.
rings in
Hmm.
his collection, and I was like, oh, I was showing my girlfriend. I was like, yeah, see, the rings are actually supposed to be like actual rings instead of like
Hmm.
bracelets, pretty much. And
Yeah.
I think I like the bracelets more, to be honest. I was like, the rings are very similar looking to like a gauntlet, so I was like,
Hmm.
I just kind of like Thanos' gauntlet. I think I
Yeah,
like
I
the
think that's why
bracelets
they.
more.
I think that's one of the reasons why they changed it,
Yeah,
because it's too similar.
yeah, the bracelets were just really cool. Shang-Chi's like weapon is like one of the coolest weapons in the MCU to me. I
Yeah,
think it's very sweet. So I'm excited to see more of it. And I don't know. I'm MCU just keeps making home runs anyways. So
yeah,
like Disney. So I don't know. I think they'll do well with Captain Marvel.
yeah. Well, Miss Marvel. And
Yes.
speaking of bracelets, it seems like that's how she's getting her powers. Is she finds these bracelets, which might have some significance from the comics.
Yeah.
Um,
Cosmic bracelets.
yeah, these cosmic bracelets, and her powers are different. And that's
Yeah.
what I was worried because I was like, I'm a fan of the stretchy and beginning Miss Marvel. I know a lot of people are like, oh, she's too similar to Mr. Fantastic from Fantastic Four, and that movie's coming out too, which might be one of the reasons why they changed her powers.
Yeah.
So I was skeptical about changing her powers to like a cosmic kind of like Green Lantern style abilities, and boy was I wrong because it looks fantastic in this trailer.
Yeah. It
Um,
looks sweet.
yeah, so definitely looking forward to that. This is probably when they announced the shows that they were doing for Disney Plus, this was probably top of my list of what I was looking forward to, even before seeing this trailer, because, like I said, I did read the comics, and I am a fan of the character, so it's one that I'm more familiar with, so it is definitely something I'm looking forward to. I have no idea who the villain's gonna be.
Yeah, and that's what, you know what, I think that's why I like it. I
Yeah,
think with the teaser was like it showed a little bit of her powers that look cool. So for like fans who were
yeah,
like kind of worried and be like, oh, that looks sweet, forget like awesome. And then her character is still like the same,
yeah.
um, uh, personality wise. And then I have no idea who the villain is, and I'm like, cool. I don't even want to watch. I know we watch trailers and we talk about them, and I kind of don't even want to watch the one for this one. I just want to be hyped for the movie
Um,
because it looks so good.
what if I told you, like when people are saying like who's the Miss Marvel villain gonna be? There's one that can't comes to my mind, and I don't know if they'll actually do this. I'm just trying to find an image here.
Yeah, I don't know any of her villains, so like I guess it
Yeah,
technically
she
be
doesn't
all.
have a great rogues gallery of villains, but
Yeah.
uh, let me get rid of the visual context triangle or rectangle here. So what if I told you that one of her villains is a cross breed mutation of a bird and Thomas Edison?
What the hell?
Yeah. That's one of her bigger notable villains. It's
Yeah,
a
maybe.
clone of Thomas Edison, but a bird flew into the experiment as it was happening, and he sort of like tricks kids into, like, he kind of like mind controls them a little bit and uses them as batteries. Uh,
Yeah, maybe we don't do that one.
yeah, but see, I'm thinking it's possible because there is a scene here. Let's pull up the
But you know what? Like it could, they'll just make some sort of weird like cosmic entity bird or something, and you know
yeah.
what? And they'll still make it cool, even if it's silly.
Uh,
They'll somehow still make the villain interesting.
there is a shot here of like some people walking in what kind of seems like it's a cult, but I guess there's some like there might be like some religious aspect to it, so I don't know. I'm just trying to find the shot from the trailer. These are like, you guys can't see it very well because of the blur, but Jordan can kind of see it. A lot of people are saying that these guys in suits are the villains.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's really no context there. Um,
yeah,
but there's a shot of like a line of people walking in a field, sort of like single file, that I can't find in this trailer. But it seemed like that might be a hint towards the Thomas Edison bird villain, but I don't know.
yeah.
That's Miss Marvel. Any other thoughts on Miss Marvel before we move on?
No, I'm just excited. I'm just honestly excited about her bracelets. I think they look cool, and I think they did a good job of still like it still looks like she can use her powers because like she could create like little floating things below her,
Oh yeah.
which those kind of reminded me of the thing that what's his name, Doctor Strange did with Spider-Man, where he threw his little shields underneath or not
Mm.
Spider-Man, Star-Lord, when Star-Lord was running after
Yeah,
Thanos, and
yeah, that's right. He's
yeah,
hopping on top of them. Yeah.
yeah. So it kind of reminds me of those, and then it still looked like she made like a fist punch somebody, but
Yep.
like as like through a
She's kind of
cosmic energy thing.
simulating that ability, right?
Yeah,
She's like
yeah,
projecting,
yeah.
larger
So
limbs and
you're
stuff.
yeah. So it's kind of like the Green Lantern thing that you kind of mentioned. It
Yeah.
has that vibe to it. So
Do you think
I,
they'll
I
do you think they'll tie into the Marvels movie? Um, like those bands. Do you think they'll have anything to do with that movie?
what do you mean?
So
Which
the
band?
the next Captain Marvel movie is called The Marvels, and Miss Marvel
Oh, is
is
it?
going to be part of it. So I'm wondering
Oh,
if like the bands are tied to Captain Marvel in some sort of way.
maybe. Yeah, I guess we could. I guess we're finding out. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's weird because Captain Marvel's powers are just from the Tesseract,
Yeah.
and then we don't know. I don't know anything about this powers weapon, but it'll be cool either way. So I'm
Um,
excited.
Well, speaking of trailers, we have another one from Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. We did talk about the last one quite a bit. Like the characters, um, America Chavez, or yeah, I guess that's just her name. I don't know if she really has an alias. But this one showed off some new stuff. It was like Wanda right here, like talking to herself, and how
Yeah.
she sees, like, everybody sees Doctor Strange as a hero and I'm the villain. That doesn't seem fair. Um, but there was one thing in this trailer that stood out to everyone. Is a voice that says we should tell him the truth, and it sounded like a very familiar voice. And for me, I was like, I don't know, that's kind of stretching it. And then Marvel's like, no, 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 let's confirm it. Yeah, that was actually Patrick Stewart. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what you think about that. Like, like they're insinuating that it's Professor Xavier from the X-Men movies.
I'm okay with it being in a different universe. If they want to bring the X, they can tie in the X Men if they want now. Multiverse stuff, I'm fine with that. It's like I don't want my MCU to be part of the same like X Men universe that we
Yeah.
had, but like from a different universe and they cross over, that's fine. But the same universe, I'm just like,
You're like cutting in and out,
I don't know.
man. Your microphone is
Yeah.
really bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, my mic's cutting in.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna pay too much attention to it, but it's like it's getting really bad. I
Was it
feel
doing
I
the whole
feel
time?
no, I mean it's like a little bit, it's tolerable, but we don't have
Hmm.
anything else to work with right now, so we're working on it, folks. I'm sorry. But yeah, it was just really bad at that moment. Um,
Hmm.
I uh I feel mostly the same way as you. I love those X-Men movies, or I should say a lot of them, not all of them. Especially after going through like a rewatch and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
like there are some issues that I have with the X-Men movies, but for me, I don't want the MCU to even touch the X-Men. I've always wanted a fresh start. I'm like, just start fresh. Do your own thing with X-Men. Don't have any sort of tie into the other movies, which a lot of people hated WandaVision for not tying in Evan Peters' characters to the X-Men movies. I felt the opposite way. I was like, that was the best way they could have handled it. It was a fun little Easter egg and like a little joke to kind of tease
Yeah.
everybody.
I
Um,
agree.
and it fell in line with the context of the like sitcom portion of the show and down to the character's name. So I know a lot of people hated it, and it's like, oh, it's a throwaway joke, and it just pissed me off. And I'm like, that's kind of the point of the character. And so I was happy with how they handled that. Them putting Patrick Stewart in this movie is, first of all, I mean, no slight against Patrick Stewart, he's awesome, and so I'm kind of conflicted in that way. But I don't want that X-Men stuff touching the MCU. But this is, like you said, the multiverse of madness. It is in a separate universe. I don't think this is the same Charles Xavier from those X-Men movies, though. I think this is just a Charles Xavier.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the reason why is because he's always dead in those movies. He winds up
Yeah.
being dead. Like he's, unless this is like an alternate timeline from Logan where he survives
Oh yeah.
and like somehow all the X-Men are still dead or whatever, and he's like, here's how I survived my universe or my timeline. But
Like
I
it
wouldn't.
could have it could have been pulled from a different time though too in the
Yeah,
multiverse, right? Like
yeah.
we pulled many there was many dead
Mm-hmm.
people
Yeah.
from the Spider-Man movies we pulled in.
That's true, and we're gonna get into the discussion of that and how the like timelines and multiverse works there. Um, but yeah, I just think he's a Professor Xavier, doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the X-Men movies. He exists in a
Yeah.
universe where there is mutants and there are X-Men, but he's not necessarily the same Professor Xavier from those movies, because those movies have a lot of plot holes and inconsistencies as well. And that's the
Yeah.
main reason why I don't want the X-Men movies part of the MCU.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I don't either, because they would
yeah,
never like they never mention anything that has to do with like the attack on New York or anything like that. And like I'm like, if you're looking for
but
supers, wouldn't you have been looking for
even as
people?
a separate universe, I don't think it makes sense because
No.
there's like so many things where it's like, oh, the same character appeared in different ages and different points of time. That doesn't make sense in two
Yeah.
different movies in this same continuity. And also they the way that time travel works in the X-Men movies as set up in Days of Future Past is completely different to how time travel and how time works in the MCU.
Yeah.
Where the X-Men um exist in a time in a world where the actions that you take that change the past also change the future, which does not happen in the Marvel universe. It creates
Oh
a
yeah.
new timeline. It creates a new existence, a new
Branch. Yeah.
universe. So even just that alone, the way that universes are set up in these two different movie universes,
Yeah.
that's reason enough for me not to want to have them do anything at all with each other.
Yeah. If I was ever gonna have them cross over, it should have done a long time ago. Like I would have loved to see Hugh Jackman with
Mm-hmm.
like Tony Stark
Yeah,
and Robert what's his name, the
Robert
Steve
Downey Jr.
Rogers.
Uh,
Well, like yeah, like Robert Downey Jr., Steve Rogers, Chris Evans. Like I would have liked the original. I would have loved to see like Wolverine and his guys with that cast. I don't really care to see them with the new up and coming Avenger characters. I don't know.
I'm I'm a huge fan of X-Men, so just having them introduced in the MCU is just enough for me. But
Yeah,
I do want a new take on it. I don't need Fox's X-Men. I've seen Fox's X-Men. I've had my
yeah,
fun with that. I'm done with it. I'm ready to move on. Um, if you want a little fun thing for me is my own like definitive movie um marathon for X-Men movies. What to
right.
what to forego as, and then the ones that you watch are the official canon. Like keep your own canon for those movies, and it still kind of works if you
Yeah.
forget all the bad ones.
So since we're talking about this movie though,
Yeah.
is was from what we can see from the trailers, I'm assuming the villain in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness is going to be Doctor Strange from that we
Uh,
know of,
I
from
don't
what it
know.
looks like, kind of.
He is in this movie, and it's
Yeah,
insinuated that this is the same Doctor Strange from What If,
from what if?
which
Okay,
I
that's what
would
I was thinking.
agree. It seems like it
Yeah,
is Doctor Strange from What If. We don't
yeah,
know he's the villain though. We do
true.
know that the big eyeball-looking character that looks like Shumagorath, but legally is not. Is Gargantos is
Yeah,
the villain's name? That seems to be one of the villains.
yeah.
Maybe
It looks like,
maybe Scarlet Witch is the villain.
yeah, it looks like a whole bunch of different like just little creatures in this movie though too, like
Yeah.
just little creature. Is
Also,
that a
Mordo
bull?
is what? Yeah, it was a bull. I don't
It
know
looks
much
like
about
something.
that character, so I couldn't really give you an answer on that.
He looks like something from Shang-Chi's world.
Uh, it's definitely a character from the comics, but I don't know much about the character.
Yeah, okay.
There's Mordo was kind of set up as the villain in the last movie, and we haven't seen him since. He is in this trailer.
Yeah,
Is
that's
Mordo
true.
the villain? It seems like he might be working with Doctor Strange again.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, um there was like Ultron robots. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I'm assuming that's probably gonna be I'm assuming it's gonna be a different version of Tony Stark, and people keep putting like not spoilers, but like they keep putting Tom Cruise as Iron Man everywhere, and I'm wondering if it's like I've just seen so much if it's just fan made stuff, or if it's actually someone's because they talked about if the
He was,
Avengers was made.
I think he was like auditioned to play, or rumored to
Well,
play,
I
Tony
think
Stark originally.
yeah, I think they said if they made the Avengers like like 10 years prior, it would have been like Tom Cruise as him, and they had like Brad Pitt would have been like Thor, and they had like this whole like cast of people that would have been um what it would have been like the higher celebrities at the time. I think I don't know. I just don't know if we're actually gonna see Tom Cruise as Iron Man or if it's uh
I
just
don't
just
think we
uh just
will.
a thing of shooting.
I think that's
Yeah.
just like fan casting.
So yeah, I
Like,
wonder about the Ultron robots. I don't know. Maybe we'll see a universe where Ultron is a leader and those are just extra of his guys.
yeah,
That'd
like
be cool.
I don't really know what that could be. There is like, I will get into like the people at the seats to like, he's handcuffed, he's walking up the steps. There's like people at these seats where supposedly Professor Xavier is. Also
Yeah.
Mordo and stuff. I think they're kind of setting up their own Illuminati, which is this group. I wish I had the comic here, but I couldn't find, like, I was gonna buy it at the time as a trade, and ever since I've been looking for like a used copy, and they're like priced really high. But the Illuminati is like Marvel's like big brain characters, mix of heroes and villains, trying to like secretly save the world from like world-ending events, that they try to handle themselves and not let anybody know about. This seems to be like their take on it that they might be
Yeah.
doing, which doesn't cover the world but covers the multiverse, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
um, and somehow Ultron is involved in that, or somebody controlling Ultron. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, One shot I want to bring up though is this where America Chavez and Doctor Strange are floating through the star portals that she's creating, and there's
Who's
these
this? Who's this
dinosaurs.
person?
America Chavez.
Who's that?
Uh, she can
Forget.
punch portals in the shape of stars between universes.
Hmm. I
So
don't know.
she
Yeah, I
can
don't know this
travel the
person.
multiverse.
She can
You'll
punch portals. Interesting.
yeah, you'll get familiar with her. Don't worry. Um,
Cool.
so they seem to be in like some Jurassic time, and then it looks like they're flying through an animated world because it's all cartoon. You see like cartoon pylon, cartoon building, cartoon car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Doctor Strange kind of looks like he's turning into a cartoon,
Yeah, his
flying
cape
through
at the
that.
bottom looks way
Yeah.
more bluish. Yeah.
Uh, and there's a couple. I mean, there's What If, but as an animated MCU show, but it's not this animation style.
Yeah.
So there's two other. I think two other. There might be some more, but there's at least two other animated things that we know about in the MCU. There's that Peter Parker prequel, which I didn't even think about that. That's a weird way to say that.
Yeah.
There's a Spider-Man prequel. That's like kind of going to go over his origins before he became Peter Parker, or before
Yeah.
he became Spider-Man. Sorry. um, and then there's they didn't say it's part of the MCU, but it is a Marvel Studios product. They're bringing back the X-Men '90s cartoon, so like the animated series.
What if it's a Spider Pig universe?
The Spider Pig, yeah, the Spider Ham.
Spider is
Um,
that his name? Spider Ham?
yeah, Spider Man Ham.
Spider Ham. That's so funny.
he was a spider that got bitten by a radioactive pig.
He
um,
wasn't a pig.
no, he was a spider. Did you watch the Spider Verse movie?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah, he was a spider. He got bitten by a radioactive pig, and then got turned
So he
into Spider
basically
Ham.
he turned into more of a pig than a
Yeah,
spider.
yeah,
Okay. I thought it was okay. All right.
yeah. You would think it's the opposite,
Yeah.
but it's not. Anyways, yeah, this I don't know. Is this going to tie in with the X-Men cartoon coming out?
um, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I haven't even watched that. So, but that's interesting that you paused that like that, and you can see
Yeah.
the portal though. I'll have to show that to Jess as well. It's interesting.
So you never watched the cartoon as a kid?
Not that I can remember now.
No.
The X-Men? No.
I used to watch it all the time. I try rewatching it now. I think I watched the first season. It is rough. It is rough going back to. It
Yeah.
is very funny though, the time period that it was in, because every character had a gun. I don't know why. They just all had a gun. But they couldn't actually have a gun because it's a cartoon. So it's like a space alien gun that shoots lasers, and they don't actually kill you. They just sting you and you fall on your back.
Yeah, I feel like I remember stuff like that. I
like
still remember that.
like
Like
even just
really
like
kind
some
of.
random guy, like it's like, hey, there's a mutant. He pulls out a space weapon.
I'm wondering if Doctor Strange is just very corrupt in that
Yeah.
picture too, or if the Marvel zombies are going to be part of this as well.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that because it looked like there's like a freeze frame and a 30-second TV spot where Wanda looked like she was a zombie. Or
Yeah.
kind of looked like, but she didn't look like the Wanda zombie from What If, and
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily think she looked like a zombie. I just think she looked all like messed up and
Yeah.
like very scary and bloody.
Could be something about the darkness that we don't know about. With the like with the ancient one, we're always pulling darkness, and just they always had that
Yeah.
like that. I don't know. They kind of start their face starts to look ashy and broken.
Is Dormammu involved in this movie, do you think?
I don't think so, but it
I
would
don't
be
think
kind
so.
of cool. You think so?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. This is a possibility because it's like the multiverse is open. What does that mean for the dark dimension, which isn't actually part of the multiverse? It's a different dimension inside of the main MCU
Right.
universe. So I don't know. I don't know what that all that means. We don't really have answers to that yet. So maybe Dormammu could appear.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. There's a little bit of other Doctor Strange stuff before we get into Spider-Man. According to Benedict Cumberbatch, um, Doctor Strange isn't an Avenger. How do you feel about that?
Uh, I don't
He's
know. I
like,
feel like he's a little above Avenger type. I think his he kind of does more with like entities and things that the Avengers couldn't really
yeah.
handle. I
This
feel
is
like he's kind of above them.
this is a quote here. It says, "People say that you were in the Avengers, but you're not an Avenger, right? No, I'm not. I'm not at Stark Tower with Nick Fury. No, he's sort of outside of that realm, but I don't think that's necessarily a character trait. I think that is just a job title. So, like, Avengers is a job
Yeah.
title. He's there to protect the reality of the Avengers in a different way, what they have been fighting up until that point that everything collides in the last two Avengers movies. So he holds his position as an adult on the periphery of that, but I think only for so long. There's always a moment where he has to work with people and team up, and we might see that in the next film. You have to wait and see. So there you go.
Yeah,
He's not.
I would say like Guardians of the Galaxy. I wouldn't really call them Avengers either, even though
No.
they fought alongside the Avengers and they fought with them, and so did like the Ravagers and all the people from whatever. And then it was just at that moment when they're taking down Thanos. I think Captain said Avengers Assemble. He was kind of talking to everybody for the
Mm-hmm.
moment. I don't necessarily mean that they're all Avengers though. That the whole you know
Yeah, and there's another title that prior to seeing Spider-Man: No Way Home, which we're just gonna jump into. This is our Spider-Man: No Way Home spoiler talk. Um, Everybody kept saying that Doctor Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme in the Marvel universe, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I kept saying, I felt like I was the only one saying this. I'm like, am I going insane? Um, he never said he was the Sorcerer Supreme. He There was the Ancient One, and then that's it. She died. Who's the Sorcerer Supreme now? Everybody kept assuming he was because he is in the comics. Like, he's never said that. They mentioned the Sorcerer Supreme in WandaVision. They're like, oh, she's stronger than Doctor Strange. I'm like, well, we don't know that Doctor Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme yet.
Yeah.
I got my answer in Spider-Man: No Way Home. He's not the Sorcerer Supreme. It's Wong.
yeah
Which I thought was
true.
like, that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if it was he was the Sorcerer Supreme and then he died, so he lost it, or that way he just never was, and maybe he would have had it, but then Wong got it
I
on a
don't think
technicality.
I don't think he did. It's
So
like it's a title that you kind of earn or get chosen for.
yeah,
Um,
so he could have possibly been the one chosen for it, but he blipped for 5 years, so he
yeah,
lost it to Wong.
yeah,
So
like he
whether he
was
was
meant to be, but he.
yeah, he didn't get it yet. But Ancient
Hmm.
One also did say in an Endgame that he's meant to be the best of us.
Hmm.
So maybe we've only seen. I know we've seen Doctor Strange in 4 movies, right? He was in Ragnarok, his own movie, and the 2 Avengers movies.
Yeah,
Um, and I guess now Spider Man. But technically, like we haven't really seen him. We haven't really seen his like full like his own movies and his full development. So like
exactly. Yeah,
he could still be the Sorcerer Supreme eventually. Just at this moment, he's not.
yeah.
You know.
I remember a point in time in the comics that he felt he wasn't deserving of the Sorcerer Supreme title, and that another magic character was going to embody the Sorcerer Supreme, and
Yeah.
it was really cool because everybody's like afraid that it would be Doctor Doom. In the comics, he is a magic user. Um,
Hmm.
so that would be like a cool plot point I'd like to see in the MCU, but I don't think they'd actually go with that. Um,
Right.
but let's talk about Spider-Man. We're done with Doctor Strange here. Um, First of all, so you seen it once in theaters and then you watched it with us
I've seen
together.
it in theaters, and then I watched it with with you guys, and then I watched it about 3 or 4 more times.
I haven't watched
I,
it since, so
I've had a lot of family members who just kept who wanted to see it, so I kept watching it with different people at a time, like
should I
my
pull up
brother, my
a
mom.
yeah? Should I pull up the trailer because so I can get some stuff to talk about.
Sure.
But just in case I see some scenes and stuff. Um,
That's my audio. Is it cutting out still here
no,
and there or not?
it's actually been good, yeah.
Okay.
But this movie has been spoiled like crazy for me. So it's like I was seeing everything that happened. I'm like, yep, this is the point that was spoiled for me. Yep.
My favorite was watching it with your sister-in-law
Yes,
because
I was gonna say that because I don't know how she avoided spoilers,
they
because
don't have social media.
we went to Venom Let There Be Carnage and I think it was Eternals. Both of those movies had trailers for Spider-Man No Way Home. I think they were the same trailer though. That one trailer spoils so much. And my brother, I feel like my brother is more um like pissed off about being spoiled stuff than she is.
Yeah.
But we were watching it and he's like, "Oh my god." I'm like I knew right away from the first frame. I'm like, "This is the Spider-Man trailer." So I turned it on, I'm like, "Spider-Man trailer. Cover your eyes, cover your ears." He's like, and he covers his eyes. He's like, "I can't. Everything's too loud. I'm going to hear everything, so I'm just going to hear it." And he's like, "Oh my god, they spoiled everything." I don't know. I thought she was watching the trailer this whole time. But maybe she
Yeah.
was like tuning it out because we watched it twice. So I'm like, oh, she knows like everything in the movie too.
Yeah.
Apparently all she knew was that Doctor Octopus was in it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The fact that more villains showed up
Yeah.
and
Because the
was
Green
was
Goblin's bomb shows up on the thing, which was
yeah,
in the trailer, and she's like, "What? No!"
yeah,
And then like Jamie Foxx shows up, she's like, "Oh my god!" It's like the
yeah.
best reaction.
Yeah, it was great watching that. That was fantastic because I was like, that's what I would have wanted, but like I
Yeah. No.
got too spoiled. They didn't show anything about the other 2 Spider-Mans being in it, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
hinted at it. They hinted at it so much, and it was like impossible. You're like, come on, at this point they've got to be if you put all the villains in it, and
Yeah,
then
there's like so many rumors before even the first trailer came out, because it was
yeah,
like the worst kept secret ever that they were doing this movie.
yeah,
So like we were going through our binge watch, the MCU binge watch, and he's like my brother called me, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, what's up?" He's like, "So we're looking at like the stuff that's coming out from Marvel in the future, like all the titles, like stuff to get excited. And there's like this poster that somebody has for the next Spider-Man movie, and it has the other two Spider-Man in it. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, so are they in the movie? I'm like, there's so officially
Yeah.
they haven't said anything, but it's pretty much yes, because that's what all the rumors are saying.
Yeah. Well,
So
like
yeah,
even in the
that's
trailer, like you see a villain being attacked by
yeah,
nothing. So I'm like, obviously
that's
you've
the
just hid
lizard.
somebody from us. Yeah, I know. I'm
Yeah.
like, how do you like? Obviously, like you're not hiding much from us. They need to take a page out of Star Wars book, man. Like they're making like Star Wars hides everything,
Yeah.
and like they're in their shows so well. Like people are, we didn't know Luke was gonna be at the end of the Mandalorian and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like there's it's crazy. I don't know if you watched that or not, but
Yeah, I did.
yeah, Mandalorian, and then there's a character I won't say the name, but there's a character in the book of Boba Fett that like blew a bunch of fans away too. I don't really know much about the character, so it wasn't nothing to me, but
Yeah, but I mean, he looked cool.
yeah, he did.
That's all I remember.
He sounded cool too.
Yeah. Um. Now, I don't know if I should put this as a video title. You tell me. Should this be the title of this video? So, Aunt May died for nothing, right?
Uh,
Because
maybe.
because if you're thinking about it, so we were having this discussion after we watched the movie. I'm like, none of this shit mattered, because so the whole purpose of this movie was like they messed up. All these characters are coming from all these other universes that we know about,
Yeah.
and they need to bring them back to the point in time where they're just about to die, but they're going to fix them so that their timeline can change.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking about every scenario. I'm like, this doesn't matter, because we look at the characters one by one. Okay, Green Goblin. He's about to get impaled by his glider.
Yeah.
So let's say like the effect, like the serum that he takes or whatever fixes him, and he's like, you know what, last minute my glider doesn't hit me. His timeline changes, he lives.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter for Dr. Octopus, who who got sent back to his timeline, because he was pulled from a different point in time. His Green Goblin still died. Like he died
Well,
before Dr. Octopus got sent back.
but
And
like in each of their lives, I guess they get to. I don't know. Do they get to
yeah,
live
so
then?
so the Green Goblin and the Dr. Octopus are from two different points of time. You send them both back. So first of all, this movie is creating several different timelines that the TVA now has to fix. So
Yeah.
so Green Goblin lives, he starts off his own timeline. Maybe Dr. Octopus still dies in that timeline. This Dr. Octopus gets sent back in his time. Green Goblin's still dead, and also Dr. Octopus still has to die because that ball of fire is still gonna engulf the whole city. So he still has to deal with it whether he's fixed or not. He's still
Yeah.
gonna go down into the ocean.
That's what I was wondering, if that maybe they don't go to the exact moment right before they die, or like right before he sends them back.
That's what's
Maybe
implied in the movie. They're sending
it
them
is.
back
Yeah.
into their time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it had anything to do with the way, because they didn't send him back right by clicking the box, right? He didn't send them back by clicking that box. That would have sent them back right to their death. Now he's sending them back because he had to finish the spell. Like before he
Yeah.
contained the spell, so he just sent the people. He was gonna send the people back anyways to their death or whatever. But now that box is destroyed, so I guess technically we just see them disappear. We don't know to which timeline or branch they technically get sent back to now, because he just finishes the spell instead of containing
But then
it.
that means if they're not put back into their point in time, they're being put back into a different point in time, into a different timeline now, because now you're creating a new timeline.
It's still one they get to live.
I guess, but it's you're like making things even more complicated at that point.
Well, that's why Doctor Strange now has to deal with the fallout of it.
Yes, yeah, I guess so. And he doesn't
So that
remember a lot of this. He's like, why did I do this? Like, who did
yeah.
I do this for? I don't
So
remember.
and now since we're talking about this movie, I
Yeah.
don't know. So does that mean like because again, it's the spoilers, nobody knows who Peter Parker is,
Yeah.
but they know Spider-Man exists. They know he's a hero,
Yeah.
or at least ish. Dude, like that, does that mean the Avengers are like, oh yeah, we fought with Spider-Man, but they don't know who Peter Parker is?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, obviously, Spider-Man basically has to use a new suit because his Stark suit.
Yeah. All
I
that
mean,
stuff's
although it's
gone. Yeah.
all, yeah, none of it knows who Peter Parker is, so it's not gonna work with him. It's like none of it's gonna be like, oh
No,
yeah,
I
Peter
mean, it still
Parker,
works, but
welcome
I
to
think his suit is, I guess the black suit, the red and
his
black
nano suit
suit.
is.
Yeah. The nano suit was all like busted up and he had it like pieced onto his existing suit.
Yeah, but
Um,
I just don't think any of it's gonna work like with him because
Oh
his
yeah,
boss
because
Stark
yeah,
upgraded because it's not
because
it's
you need his identity to confirm it, and
yeah,
okay,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
I
gonna
see
be
what
able
you're
to
saying,
confirm
yeah.
his yeah, it won't
But
confirm his identity.
the black suit didn't have an AI, as far as I know. It did have like a lot of like tech and
Yeah.
stuff, but like that suit right
Um,
there.
Well, because remember when he's up on he's. I remember. Okay, I forgot that you've only seen it once. When he's on the bridge, there's a
Mhm.
scene where he puts the suit on,
Mhm.
and it's like Stark network is offline, and he can't use some things because they took away
Gotcha.
the
Yeah, yeah,
Stark
yeah.
stuff from him.
But
I'm wondering if
that is his
now
nano suit, right?
yeah,
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 yeah.
that's his nano suit. But so they took the Stark stuff offline, but now I'm wondering if Stark stuff will even work with him because he doesn't even know who he is. So probably
Yeah,
like,
but I don't know
if he
what
turns,
that has to do with his black and so he has his black and red suit, which
yeah,
also has parts of the nanosuit in like a golden spider thing by the end of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
I don't think he is he even using any like Stark stuff with that suit. I think he's just wearing it as a suit.
yeah. I guess so. I just didn't know. I just didn't know if his
Okay.
like because at the end of this movie, he makes his own new suit.
Yeah, but I think so. I think that's more symbolic, just like in the comics.
Oh, okay.
This is based on a comic called like One More Day, or there's a few different comics that kind of like are that this is
Yeah,
inspired, taking inspiration from, and the whole point of that is to start fresh. It was the same concept in the comics. Peter's not, yeah, everybody forgot who Spider-Man is. They didn't forget Peter Parker, but they just forgot who Spider-Man is. Like he reveals identity, and everybody forgot about that.
yeah,
And part of his history was changed. So they're using that as a fresh start. He's starting fresh. There's a new comic, number one Spider-Man comic that starts. So this is kind of their same sort of homage to that. He's starting fresh. He has a more traditional comic book suit. So this is where Spider-Man starts now.
yeah. But
So
that's what I was wondering about the MCU now. Like, do they gonna remember that Spider-Man helped fight Thanos in space, or the Avengers gonna remember that they fought along Spider-Man? Because nobody now in this one,
yeah, yeah,
I don't think people forgot Spider-Man. I think they just forgot Peter Parker. Like
yeah,
literally
exactly,
nobody
yeah.
knows Peter Parker lives. Like nobody knows. His friends don't know who Peter Parker is.
Hmm.
His school's not gonna know he's a student. Like he doesn't exist
Yeah,
to the world. But
exactly.
Spider-Man still might. Spider-Man still be. They might know who the hero of
Yeah,
that he was a hero or something. So
yeah.
whatever.
Spider-Man's still around, but nobody knows who Peter Parker is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's pretty interesting. And I'm wondering because like when Doctor Strange in this movie he says when the multiverse is breaking apart. He's like, this shouldn't even be possible. I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that ties in with Loki after Loki. Was it Kong? Is it Kong that's the villain in that one? What's his name?
Uh, he who remains was the
Yeah,
end villain.
so I wonder if he who remains because he's dead
Hmm.
and he was the one who was keeping the timeline in a perfect loop or whatever. I'm wondering if because he's dead and now it's like he's like
Different.
yeah this is gonna open multiverses and
He-
that was why Doctor Strange
yeah.
after he did the spell because he said he's done a spell before
Hmm.
and it was no big deal but
Yeah.
now he did it and it's a giant mess and that's
But
because I'm assuming that dude's dead.
okay, so but here's the thing. So Doctor Strange exists in a point in time that's before He Who Remains. He Who Remains is at the end of time. So it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah,
it's so confusing to think about because He Who Remains is dead at the end of time. And like these movies, like the Spider-Man movie, Multiverse of Madness, are,
Yeah.
I guess, ways that the time that these movies could take place, like, after He Who Remains dies. But they could have also taken place a different way. Um, and it's weird because they're the present. He Who Remains is in the future, but also past and present and future don't really work that way in the MCU. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult question, but also He Who Remains is again dead at the end of time. He and or different variations of him still exist because
Yeah.
they
He
still
he's
get
the
to
most
the end of
powerful one,
time.
right?
Yeah. So,
Because he said there was a multiverse war, and then he was the most powerful, so he made his
yeah,
multiverse in like a loop that he could
before
trim and do.
before the end of Loki, there was one timeline,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
He Who Remains is the only version of himself because he made it so that the timeline existed in that way. But because he
yeah. It
died,
was like a
now there's
line in every.
multiple of variations of him and multiple different universes and timelines.
Yeah.
That's the reason
So
why
I
these
guess it's,
movies
I don't know.
exist.
So I guess that's why we need that to be clarified
Mm-hmm.
with us, whether it's like, whether this shouldn't be a possible, but like that doesn't. I don't know. It makes sense the fact that Loki and that chick,
Mm-hmm.
the other Loki, went to the future and killed him. So technically, everything before that shouldn't be affected yet,
Yeah,
right? Because that's how that's how the stuff works. So if you kill someone in the future, it doesn't affect the past just yet.
no, it's if you kill, that past still. What if you kill somebody in the
Yeah.
future? It doesn't affect the past. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true because it's the
Right. So
future.
that's why I'm wondering. That's why I'm wondering with this if it's like now that he's dead, he can't
Yeah,
help. He can't control it anymore.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he can't control now. The multiverses can cross over. That's why
yeah.
when.
This
That's
is
why
this is
that's
a movie that exists post the death of He Who Remains at the end of time.
yeah. Yeah, I guess so. That's the only thing I can think of because I'm like that. It just doesn't make it. It's what it sounds like because every time
Mhm.
Doctor Strange is like, this shouldn't even be possible. I'm like,
Yeah,
why is this shit happening? But he maybe even doesn't know that He Who Remains is dead.
yeah.
And
I
now
think he doesn't
multiverses can
know.
cross over.
I think he doesn't really know anything about the multiverse
Yeah, he says he knows.
because
He says he says it's multiverse is something that we know frighteningly little about. Is what he
yes,
says.
exactly.
So who the fuck knows? Really, they could do anything, and it could be between Kang dying or the He Who Remains dying,
mhm.
the spell being tampered with multiple times by Peter.
I thought that was so funny how they handled that.
Yeah, it could be what's it called? It could be who even knows? Like I know the universe is fracturing, but at the end of Spider-Man,
Yeah.
it looked fine. So we don't know how the beginning of Doctor Strange is going to happen. Maybe it's the other Doctor Strange. Maybe he's using the Watcher powers and he's crossing over the dimension and he fucks it up. We have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's like so many different possibilities on what could
Yeah,
be the beginning of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
yeah,
It doesn't necessarily have to be,
from Spider-Man.
like a direct sequel, like or directly from Spider-Man. It could be a lot of different things.
Yeah,
Also, I don't think they really could mention Spider-Man and Doctor Strange unless they're using that as their agreed upon um like contract for
yeah,
Spider-Man with Sony, and I don't think they would waste that opportunity with Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. So I don't
yeah.
expect Spider-Man to have anything to do with Doctor Strange.
Right.
Legally speaking, I'm sure like maybe there would be some aspect to it if they didn't have to deal with this. Like dealing with it with Sony.
Yeah.
Um, I want to stick to some more questions with the movie though. So yeah, we know. Like I'm just also thinking about like so the Lizard and Electro. I think they're another two split timelines from the Amazing Spider-Man. Um, and I think they like maybe the Lizard lives. I can see the Lizard living because Electro is being sent to the point in time where he's already being absorbed by the grid.
Yeah.
And I think like maybe the Lizard's fine, and he doesn't kill the Captain Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who was the other Sandman? Yeah, the Sandman's another one where
I don't think Sandman ever died. He
he
just
didn't
the
die.
other
That's
Spider-Man.
that's the other question. Like they're like, yeah, we pulled in all these characters that died from Spider-Man. No, they didn't. Sandman's still alive. The Lizard is still alive. Yeah, the Lizard never
Like,
ended up dying, right?
yeah. It was just people who knew about Spider-Man. It wasn't people who necessarily were being sent to their death.
But that's
But
also false because Electro didn't know Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Also, where was Harry Osborn from the Amazing Spider-Man universe? Because he knew he knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
well, he said only a few squeaked through. It didn't mean it pulled
Uh,
everybody.
when did you say that?
He
You said
said,
that?
yeah, he says that. He
Okay.
says he goes. It started pulling everybody who knew Spider-Man from multiple verses into here, and he goes, "Well, I
Yeah.
thought you got them all." He said, "I thought you stopped the spell." He's like, "Yeah, well, apparently a few squeaked through." So he says that only a few got through. He doesn't say that
Okay.
all. You know, he doesn't say that
So,
everybody. Because yeah, I was wondering why Harry wasn't there.
yeah. Okay. But what? But what? How does that explain? Electro.
I think Electro knew.
He knew that Peter Parker. Well, he didn't know who the hell Peter Parker was. He never heard of that name before.
You know, um,
You're telling me he knew who Peter Parker was?
well, I know he. I think he. I can't remember. I gotta watch. I'll have to watch the second one again. I thought he did find out at the end who Peter Parker was. But then in this one, when he sees Peter Parker, he goes, "Man, I always thought you were gonna be black." He's like, "You help poor people,"
Yeah, because he
and
didn't
he
know,
starts
right?
saying, "Yeah," because he
Yeah, he
didn't
didn't
know.
know it
So,
exactly.
so
Oh, I'm putting
maybe
you
in
in
a different,
frame.
maybe in a different verse, in a different universe, he finds out who it was.
Oh
I have
yeah,
no
that's a
idea.
good point. And Electro from another universe, because that's what I'm thinking. Why Venom appeared at the end credits, because
Yeah,
he didn't know who Peter Parker was, but
yeah,
the Venom, the Eddie Brock and Venom from the Sam Raimi movies knew who Peter
yeah.
Parker was, right?
Yeah, so yeah, so yeah. I just yeah, I don't really know because it wasn't. It was still It was still Max. Like the Electro was still the same Max,
Yeah,
but he was different. Like he was like his body was different,
yeah.
and he wasn't all blue.
I don't
So
think that really matters though. The
yeah, I don't know.
how the look
I just
changes.
I honestly thought they did a good job on Electro though.
Hmm.
Electro looked so cool. He had like a little like electronic things on him, but he like for the most part he just looked sweet. And then every time he used his lightning abilities, it did like the comic book Electro, how he
Yeah,
has
the
his, like
little
the
mask.
stupid
I
little
always hated
lightning
that
stupid
mask, by the
star.
way.
I did too,
Yeah,
but in the movie, it looks
yeah,
sick because it would just do a quick flash of like lightning in the shape of that, and I was like, that
yeah.
is way cooler than making him look like a blue,
I know that, like,
you know.
I think in one point in the comics and in some animated show, they made it so like that lightning effect were scars on his face. They're like kind of
Oh
like a
yeah.
darkened scar, so it
Hmm.
looked like a tattoo, which I also thought looked dumb, and they should have just like got rid of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was never really a fan of that.
Did you like this one? How they did it in this?
Yeah, yeah, I thought that's the best. Like to pay homage to the original costume.
Yeah.
Um, I felt
But then
like
it's
that
not
was the
actually.
best way to do it. Was a quick little
Yeah.
flash.
It was just when he used his power and he charged up, it would just shoot a cool little like it's like a very brief image of like a lightning mask in his face, and I
Yeah,
was like, that is so sick. It was like pure like little like energy, like lightning. It was very cool. I thought it was sweet as hell.
yeah.
And
Um,
this scene, like that scene there that we just saw, like that we just saw him right there, like that's really
mhm.
cool. But I like the nano suit taking over Doctor Doc Ock's arms too.
Yeah,
That was fucking sweet. That was very awesome.
that was also something that was kind of spoiled for me. But I'm like, oh, that's a cool way to handle that. Um,
Yeah.
also, uh, in terms of like people who knew Peter Parker was Spider Man, uh, none of the side characters show up, like MJ, Gwen Stacy, like all those other characters.
Well, I mean, we
Yeah,
never know. We don't know that they
yeah.
didn't.
Oh, that's
We
true.
didn't.
That's true. Yeah,
We didn't need them. Doctor Strange didn't end up needing everybody. Like we never even saw Venom the whole time,
yeah.
but he got sent back when Doctor Strange finished the spell. So who knows? There could have been any number of other people that did show up, but for the movie. So I thought that was kind of cool that there were some that squeaked through that we didn't know because that little scene of Venom, he just spent the whole time in a bar,
Hmm.
left symbiote in the MCU, and then
Yeah,
by
So
accident, and then
they're intending to like maybe like possibly in the future when they figure this thing out with Sony that they can
yeah,
have a symbiote in the MCU take over
yeah,
for another character, which might be because in the comics Flash Thompson because like has Venom.
hmm.
I can't see the MCU Flash Thompson getting Venom
Oh,
because
please don't let
he's
that
kind
kid.
of a weird character in these movies.
Oh, I
Uh,
hate that kid.
I do like the different take they went with Flash
Yeah.
Thompson in these movies, but I can't see that character being Venom. I'm sorry.
I like him as being the like weird bully, but
Yeah,
he's more of like a cyber bully because he's all like, I don't know. He's trying to be like the
yeah,
popular bully
it's
or
like a
whatever, but he's like
newer
a
age kind of bully. Like
sure, but
you don't see those
I
jocks
don't
like
want
in
that. I'm not gonna take that Venom seriously
yeah.
though. If he's Venom.
The reason why I like Flash Thompson now is the same reason why I like these iterations of Peter Parker as opposed to the older Tobey Maguire version of Peter Parker, where they're like very traditional on the original Spider-Man comics, which were
Yeah.
very relevant at that time. I feel like those characters are very much for that time, and like the characters themselves, their motivations and all this stuff are very still relevant. But
Yeah.
the like I'm a nerdy science kid and like all these jocks bully me and everything. I feel like that's from like a bygone era where like the people who would bully you for what you like is kind of different.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just more modern with this take of Spider-Man, this take of Flash Thompson. But what do I know?
Well, even what's his name? Even the Andrew Garfield one I thought was
Yeah.
fine because like he was kind of nerdy, but he was
Mhm.
really cool though. Still, like he was a little skateboarder. He was into photography. So then
Yeah,
like the
it's just
jock was kind of just like the jock who was like broke your camera,
yeah.
Parker, and like kind of just didn't like him. Wasn't like you're the science geek or anything like that. It was just like you
Yeah,
just
it's
had a
just
bully that didn't like you, but it wasn't like
yeah, it's just like
like
a
specifically why.
like a loner that like nobody really pays attention to or people pick on, right? Um
Right.
and yeah, I feel like all of them embody that. I just feel like the Tobey Maguire movies were like original Spider-Man comic books put into the movie, which I don't feel like holds up as well in a modern setting. But I feel
Yeah.
like I'm the minority there. I don't know. A lot of people disagree with me on that. Um, yeah, I don't know if I had any other questions. I'm trying to look through the trailer here. Green Goblin was awesome. Like
Yeah.
I like looking back on those Spider-Man movies now. I hated a lot of stuff about Green Goblin. Mostly his costume. I'm like, this is to be fair, I'm not a huge fan of the character in the comics. I'm a fan of
Yeah.
Norman Osborn, not
Yeah.
necessarily his alter ego, Green Goblin. I've never been like a huge
Yeah.
fan. Like the MCU's Joker, but not really. But I felt he was so much better in this movie.
Yeah. It was very cool how they did it because in this one, well, because it makes sense in the old one because it was supposed to be a weapon. It was supposed to be like a weapon, right? It's supposed to be a super
Yeah.
soldier, but clearly it goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get the suit being like, the suit was supposed to be in a stronger, more advanced suit, something for you to like, that could, I don't know, help you out later with your, new muscles, whatever you got with
Yeah, but
the
why is the
thing, and then
helmet
you got the
so
glider.
fucking stupid?
Yeah, I don't know why they went full like a
Why did
full.
they need a
Maybe it's
Power
supposed to
Rangers helmet to like?
maybe maybe it was supposed to be intimidating to the enemy that everyone was gonna be on gliders and then they were gonna be whatever. But I did like in this one how two for two reasons. I like that almost immediately he smashes the helmet is
Yeah.
like symbolic to like Osborn breaking through and
Mm-hmm.
trying to like fight the goblin.
Yeah.
But then I also like William Dafoe's facial expressions of him turning from Osborn to the Goblin
Yeah. It's
is
so
so
good.
fucking good that
Yeah.
I feel like they're like, no, we don't want CGI or we don't want a helmet. Like, let's just fucking like
Yeah.
just actually act because you're so fucking like you're
And
fantastic.
and in the
Um,
like you don't see this anymore for obvious reasons,
yeah,
but in the original Spider-Man movie, all those characters had their masks on. And
Yeah,
even when like they had the closed dialogue, Spider-Man and Green Goblin on the rooftop, where they're like
yeah,
he's talking about like we can work together, we're not so different, and all that stuff. Um,
yeah,
he had his helmet on, and his eyelids, like the covers, went up. The
yeah,
mouth guard kind of like went down, so you could see his eyes and mouth when he's talking. Spider-Man still has his
yeah,
mask on. You don't get that anymore because like Sam Raimi, you could clearly tell he's like, I want to have the comics on screen. Like this is how I know
yeah,
this character. Now everybody who's making superhero movies are like, no, we paid for this like top name actor to play on our
yeah.
screen to sell tickets. We can't have them behind a mask. So we need
Yeah.
every excuse in the book for them to take off their mask. So,
True.
so we
And
don't see
then
that anymore.
even you said you got your iconic Green Goblin in this one too, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had like after he took his
Oh
helmet when
yeah,
he was right before he
love it.
killed Aunt May. He had his purple hood on and he had some goggles on while he was flying around on the thing. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that is way cooler. I'm like, you still need the goggles, obviously. You can't be flying around on a glider that fast and not have
Yeah.
wind and shit in your eyes. So I was like, he looks so good. His I honestly think William Defoe has more muscles in his face than any other human does because the way he like contorts his mouth to like
Yeah.
look like a giant grin is insane. It was so cool.
Oh, that's yeah. This is a great movie. I don't know how it ranks in your Spider-Man
I think
rankings.
right now I've just watched it too many times in like a month that I'm
Yeah.
like I don't really want to watch it anymore. And I've just watched this
Yeah.
trailer on loop about 1,800 times. So I'm like I'm done with it for a
Okay.
while.
Yeah.
My brother came over and I love it though. Like it was everything I wanted out of it. I love seeing some new stuff with like Peter, like his
Mm-hmm.
seeing that his nano suit could take over something. I'm like, well, that's just one last trick that Tony had that we got to see. I was like, that's so cool. Um, but otherwise, no, I love it. I think it might be my top 10 favorite Spider-Man movies. But
But
the
has
first
there
two,
been
I
10?
like.
Has there been 10?
What?
10 Spider-Man
Oh, I
movies?
just meant. Sorry, I just meant like. Sorry, my top favorite it's in my top 10 favorite MCU movies. I
Oh,
meant.
okay, yeah.
But
Uh,
if I'm gonna watch Spider-Man, I think my favorites are still the two Andrew Garfields. If I just want to watch Spider-Man, I'd rather just watch just those two. But
yeah.
I do love seeing Tom Holland with everybody else. I like seeing him in the Avengers or Civil War. I like those. But I think this movie is my favorite compared to like the Tobey Maguire or the first two
Yeah.
Spider Homecoming, No Way Home,
I
or Far From Home.
Far From Home is the second one. Um
Yeah, I think I like this one better than the first two.
okay. Uh really? Okay. See, for me, I feel like Homecoming was still my favorite. I feel like
Yeah,
that's like I felt like that's the perfect Spider-Man movie. Like it has like everything that I want in a Spider-Man movie, and it best represents the character and everything. Um,
yeah.
this
Mine's
scene right
still
here,
the Amazing Spider-Man one.
we didn't even talk about the scene where MJ's falling and
Yeah. Uh,
Andrew Garfield saves her, like his Spider-Man. Um, but also she still has the injuries by the end of the movie when she forgets who Peter Parker is.
yeah.
Like I feel like that could have been like an opening. It's like his way to get into like re-triggering her memory or something. But I get why they didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, he just being a Spider-Man self. He doesn't want to put them in danger. He's like, because he saw it was also he saw that like he's like that's she got injured. He's like it
Yeah,
could be way worse next time. So he was like, no, I'm just gonna
I
I
guess
care
so.
about
Yeah,
her.
that's
So
one way to look at it. Yeah, for sure.
that's what he saw. He saw her injured, and he was like, he's like, it could be worse next time if I bring these two back into it. So he was like, I'm not doing that. So he's like, nobody knows
Yeah.
who the hell I am, anyways. So like, he has no loved ones right now to hurt. So
So what do you where do you think Spider-Man, like this Spider-Man, goes from here? Because we kind of know what the plans are for Spider-Man as a franchise with Sony. But Like I don't know, where do you think this goes to? He just lays low and like
Because so like the way I say like the way I like Spider-Man because I like him in his solo movies. Like I think that's why I like the two Andrew Garfield movies the best.
yeah.
Then I kind of like seeing Spider-Man in like I like him in the Avengers and stuff. And then I like this movie, and then the first two Tom Holland movies, and then the Tobey Maguire ones are kind of like near the bottom for me. This one was cool because it was a shout out to like all the different generations or whatever. But from here, I think Spider-Man's gonna go like now they have like his suit, like with Tony Stark, he was like too overpowered now. Like you could see like his nano suit was like he's already got super strength, and now he has like an almost indestructible suit compared to like most of his villains. Like he's not really gonna get hurt that often. I mean this time he still did because he had like six villains fighting him, but to basically take Spider-Man back to like the beginning, I feel like is what they're doing with him. Is
Yeah.
like now he has no Tony Stark suit, he has no help from the outside. We're gonna get like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that we never really got with Tom Holland.
Okay.
Like like Tony Stark sees his suit and he's wearing those big ass goggles and he's in his bedroom and he's showing him videos of himself. I feel like now we'll be able to see that version of Tom Holland, like him being a Spider-Man, but like he has all these past experiences, he has all this knowledge, so he's still going to be a really good fighter,
Yeah.
but he doesn't get the nano suit and he doesn't get the tentacle arms and the taser webs. He's gonna have to build everything himself. So I think it'll be kind of cool. We'll get like the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man.
Do you think we're gonna get more from the Amazing Spider-Man?
I see a lot on Twitter of people really wanting
Mm,
the Amazing Spider-Man 3,
I see
and
that too.
I'm behind it. I'm
Oh
like
yeah,
I
me
think
too.
he
I want to
deserves
see a I
his
want to see
release.
a proper conclusion to
Yeah,
that
exactly.
story. Like I've
Yeah.
always wanted that. Um, but yeah, this I mean I feel like this leads into you didn't watch this. I should have asked you to watch the final Morbius trailer. You didn't watch that, right?
I think I watched it. I think I watched it myself already. I can't remember
Okay.
exactly, but
Um.
um, really quickly on the Spider-Man thing though,
Yeah.
there is a scene. There is a scene where when we see him catch MJ and he's kind of crying because he saved MJ, and
Hmm.
even though he didn't save Gwen, there's a scene. I just want to say this because we're talking about it. When Peter's like he beats the shit out of the Goblin, Andrew Garfield clicks the antidote and he tosses it,
Yeah.
and then Toby or Tom Holland catches it and sticks it in his neck.
Yeah.
After they save him, Andrew Garfield goes, "Nice catch," and then Tom Holland goes, "Nice throw." I thought it'd been way cooler if Andrew Garfield
Sorry.
said "Nice catch,"
Yeah.
and then Tom Holland was like, "You too."
Oh,
I
okay.
thought
Yeah.
because I was telling Jess, I was like, imagine that. I was like, he just saved your girlfriend,
Yeah.
so you get the little nod of him going, "Nice catch." But then to us fans, we're
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was a nice catch. Like I'm like, that would have been a way better line. And I'm so disappointed that they didn't use that because like you could have had that little moment between Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland being like,
Yeah.
"Nice catch," and be like, "You too," because you just saved my fucking girlfriend. But we didn't get that. And I was like, bro, like he just saved your fucking girlfriend. Maybe give him a
Well,
nice catch. Like I just
speaking of
would have meant a lot to, it would have meant a lot to him. I just thought
yeah.
thought it would have been a cool line, anyways.
Well, speaking of like what I was talking about beforehand, and the other Spider-Man, they're getting sent back to their time, right? They're clearly
Right.
in the future. They're much older. Andrew Garfield saying like how he stopped pulling his punches. He got very dark, so we've seen him in a darker setting. And
Yeah.
then Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is much older. He's more experienced and all this stuff. Um, they're getting sent back to where they came from. So
Yeah.
like all these characters still died. They didn't fix anything. They just like fixed like various versions of them. So they're going back in time saying like, "Oh yeah, here's what I could have done."
I guess.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't know. We don't. I don't know. My guess is still that the multiverse is just broken up and they're not being sent to the exact time just because if we
But I feel
like
like it's weird to send them back. You're being sent back to the past where all these other characters are too. Like
yeah.
they're all getting sent to a past point together where they I don't know. It just seems really, really weird to me.
They all got. Well, I mean, they all got taken from different points in time, from
Yeah,
different timelines. So who knows where they're getting, or who knows where they're being sent? I don't know.
I
You are
guess.
right. It could be either way. I mean, we
Yeah,
won't know unless we ever see. So unless they ever show us what exactly happened and explain it some way, I guess you
yeah.
could just, if you want Aunt May to die for no reason, like you apparently, she
I think
can.
she died for no reason. She told
Yeah,
the reason why she died was to tell him like you can do good. You have a responsibility to do that. You know, the
yeah,
catchphrase, right? Um,
yeah,
but really, they're all doomed. Like you saved them from nothing, and
yeah,
she she's responsible for her own death, and she's like, no, it's okay. This was the right thing to do. Was it though? I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I
I
don't.
still there's a lot of just different things in that thing I don't agree with though, because I'm like I know he's a superhuman Spider-Man. He's able
Mhm.
to do all this stuff with all these abilities, whatever. But I'm like, the cop in the beginning was right. I was like, it is kind of child endangerment. You let him do all this. I'm like, it's. I was like, you really shouldn't be his
Mhm.
guardian anymore if you think
Yeah.
about it. I was like, you just let him do whatever he wants. I was like, she
Yeah,
should be
I
in
guess
trouble for
so.
all.
Yeah.
I was like, she should be in trouble for all
We didn't
that
we didn't
stuff.
even talk about we didn't even talk about I have the Morbius trailer playing. It's been playing on loop.
Yeah,
We didn't even talk about Daredevil in the
yeah,
movie. So Matt Murdock was in the movie. And it's I don't know how this we're gonna get to Defenders talk. Like hopefully we'll keep that short. But I actually have a lot of points about Defenders and stuff.
yeah,
But we don't like this. I feel like I'm going crazy. Okay, because I'm in the mindset. I'm rewatching the Defender shows. I'm like
yeah.
these are in the MCU. Until they say otherwise, they're in the MCU. I feel like I'm the only one who's saying that because I go everywhere online to like, oh yeah, these are variants. These are like people are making so many excuses. It's
Yeah.
driving me crazy. I'm like, why? What? There's no. It makes more sense for them to be in the MCU until they say no, they're not. Than you trying to like reach for reasons for them not to be. Because
Yeah.
Matthew Murdock is in Spider Man. Wilson Fisk is in Hawkeye, and a lot of people are saying like they're different versions of the characters. I'm like, no, they're not. I've watched the same shows. These are the same characters. There's no indication that they're different to me. Like people are drawing like different conclusions. Kingpin's dressed differently. He has different kinds of strength. I'm like, well, I disagree.
Well,
Like,
I was dressed differently than
yeah.
yesterday, but I'm still the same me. I'm not a variant.
Exactly. So I'm like, no,
That's a
they're
weird
this. They're
excuse.
yeah. I'm like they're the same characters.
Yeah.
They just are to me. So people are making all these excuses, but the case in point for Daredevil, he's in Spider Man. I'm like, there you go. All the Netflix shows are canon, and people are like, I don't know, man. He's a variant. I'm like, oh my god. So I
I
don't know. Would you
think
think
that's
about
trolls.
what'd you think about Matt Murdock in Spider Man?
I thought they used him the right amount. I thought it was
Yeah.
awesome. But just on your point really quickly, I think they all are in the MCU. I mean, they talk about, there's this. It's been so long
Yeah,
since I
but
watched the
everybody's
Defense.
bringing up the one-way relationship, which is the same with
Yeah,
all those other shows that people are still insisting are not part of the MCU canon. Which again, they are until they say they're not. So
yeah,
even
it's
Agents of Shield, like I disagree that it's part of the MCU. It's still pitched that way, and it hasn't been said otherwise. We got this covered. A garbage website that makes up shit or misinterprets shit, which a lot of people are sourcing, that Kevin Feige said, oh yeah, they're no longer canon. It's bullshit. I can bring up that article every time I can and say, here's how they misinterpreted it in some weird way. Here's what Kevin
yeah,
Feige actually meant and what he said.
yeah,
Leaves room for leeway and I guess your own interpretation, but they have not been decanonized.
yeah.
So
I just think that they like. I mean, they talked about the attack on New York, and they talk about the Hulk jumping around and all
yeah,
that stuff. Whatever.
but
So I'm like, they mentioned it,
the movies never mention the Defender shows. That's what everybody's argument is. It's a
but
one
that's
way relationship.
but like why would they like? They don't need to. They don't freaking care.
I know,
That's
but
like
now they
the
do.
Avengers. Like
Now they
the
are.
Avengers fight. Yeah, I mean the Avengers fight aliens and other shit,
Yeah.
and they have Tony Stark's a billionaire. He's gonna be talked about. Thor's from a different world, and stuff.
Yeah.
He's been talking. Captain America is the first superhuman soldier. He's going to be talked about,
And they're
right?
more
They're not going to
grounded.
talk.
They're more
They're not
grounded
going to talk about
stories.
a blind lawyer who can
Exactly.
fucking who nobody knows his secret identity, right? Nobody knows Matt Murdock, so he's not talked about. The Avengers have their identities out there; they're talked about. Nobody knows. Not everyone knows Luke Cage is bulletproof. Everyone's like, like there's a scene where he gets shot in a store and bullets
Well,
are going through.
everybody, I think by the end of the show, it's like everybody knows who Luke Cage is, Jessica Jones is. They even, I mean, everybody knows who Danny Rand is. They might not
Yeah,
know him as Iron Fist. I'm doing my rewatch, so I haven't got to season 2 yet of Iron
yeah,
Fist. But like, people know that Danny Rand is weird and does some weird shit. He's in the news. Like
yeah,
the most outrageous thing in there is the hand, them dealing with the hand. Which by the end of the Defenders show,
yeah,
so I'm spoiling the Defenders stuff now. By the end of that. That was still like it wasn't public knowledge that the hand exists. There's some people that heard about them, like
yeah,
yeah. The movies didn't need to reference the Netflix shows, but they are now. They're referencing them now, and those shows have referenced the Marvel movies. And there's no reason to suggest that they're not the same, that they don't exist in the same universe.
yeah. And
Which,
so to me they're in
yeah,
the MCU movies until they're like, no, they are a variant, and I'm like, okay, they're a variant,
yeah.
fine, fuck it.
And I was
So,
going to lead into Morbius, but we're going to lead into something else.
well,
So,
I just want to say what my thoughts on Daredevil. It was a
yeah.
very cool little shout out to him. I like the scene of him being Peter Parker's lawyer. It was very cool,
Hmm.
and it was cool for anybody who hasn't seen it. We're just gonna get spoiled, but there's a scene when he's talking with Peter Parker, and a brick comes in through the window,
Hmm.
and fucking Daredevil fucking catches the brick. Not only being blind, but it's coming in from behind him, and he catches it
Yeah.
before Peter Parker also reaches for it, and Daredevil fucking catches it first, and like it was fucking sick. Like that was awesome. To um, I even knew he. I don't know if did you get that spoiled for you? Did you know he was gonna be in it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how I got that spoiled for me? Somebody took a screenshot of his arm and was like, I forget the actor's name who plays Daredevil,
Hmm.
but there. So I'll say Matt Murdock. But everyone's like, if that ain't the hairiest arm of Matt Murdock that I ever seen, and they compared the trailer of his forearm to a trailer to a Daredevil
That was a different
forearm.
character though.
Well, still somebody was
Because
like, that's
somebody
fucking
no,
hairy
yeah.
forearm.
So the scene is when those cops were like interrogating Peter Parker, and it was in the trailer. Somebody slams his arms down, and people were theorizing that's Matt Murdock. That those are his
Yeah,
arms. Then there
yeah,
was the IMAX trailer, which is taller, right?
yeah,
And nope, it's not Matt Murdock. It's one of the cops because we
yeah.
see his face. It's not Matt Murdock. So
So even
that's
if it
funny.
was fake, it still got spoiled for me because I was
Yeah,
like, well, shit. I was like, damn, I guess he's
everybody was
gonna be
expecting
in
it.
it because everyone now is saying it's his fucking hairy ass arm that's in it, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay. But
Well, the debate kind of got settled for us. Okay. So we're gonna get rid of this. Um, so the same debate that we were having, people were having online. Are they canon? Are they not? Marvel said, you know what? We're gonna decide this now. We're gonna include a biography of the MCU characters. One of them being Matt Murdock, and in that biography, we are going to list all of his experiences from the Daredevil and Defenders show in this biography. And by the end of it, we're going to say he later appears to defend Peter Parker in Spider-Man No Way Home. So
yeah,
that's it, right? That's on Marvel's website. It's definitive, right?
uh-huh.
Apparently, they removed that.
Hmm.
So now they're adding to the confusion. So I thought it was settled, but why did they remove it? Because now I'm concerned. They have a link here. Forbes has a link. So I don't know. What do you make of that? I'm gonna scroll down to the bottom and see if it's still there. This is showing all the Netflix stuff, like all the scenes from the Netflix show. So apparently this was in the bottom. I didn't actually read this. Um, yeah, it's not here. The mention of the Spider-Man movies is not here. So do
Hmm.
you think? I don't know. What do you think that could be? What does that mean anything to you?
Why they put Spider-Man in it and then they
On
removed
on
it?
Marvel's website, so it doesn't get any more official than that. They have this
Yeah.
whole page. It's a long ass page detailing everything from the Daredevil show
Yeah.
uh, for the character's history, right?
Yeah. Right.
By the end of it, they had a paragraph saying like sometime I'm paraphrasing. Sometime after the events of Daredevil 3, he defended Peter Parker in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
Like a little bit more detailed than that. That paragraph is not here anymore. It was at the end of the article.
That's because everybody forgot who Peter Parker was. So we're like, who wrote this article about some kid named Peter Parker, and then they removed it.
That's a good point. Okay, there you
I don't
go.
know.
That settles
probably
it.
did. Everyone's like, that's weird. Who's this Peter Parker kid? And then someone just fucking
I didn't think of
control
that.
deleted that whole paragraph.
I didn't think of that. Okay.
They probably just straight up control deleted everything.
Well, there's some other things related to this. So the question's still up in the air, I guess. We're of the mind that the Netflix shows are part of the MCU. So if you want the full MCU experience, go watch the shows. They're now on Disney Plus. They're not on Netflix anymore. That was the other thing that we were going to talk about because that happened in between our last podcast and this one. They got taken down from Netflix to be added to Disney Plus, and people are kind of like debating what the reason is or what that means. And I think it's pretty simple. Disney wants all of their properties on their platform. They want more content to bring subscribers to Disney Plus. I think Marvel also wants a definitive home for all of their Marvel stuff, but specifically the MCU.
So does that mean will we ever get Spider-Man No Way Home? Will we get that on Disney Plus ever? Because Sony owns it.
Yeah, because they have agreements with right now. Spider-Man No Way Home premiered in 2021, which I think they had to do unless they might have had some legal issues with Microsoft with the Marvel if they push the movie any further. They have to release a Spider-Man movie every so many number of years, and it was already delayed because of the pandemic. They couldn't delay it any further than the end of last year. So that's why it was in theaters only. So Sony's agreement for movies prior to 2022 is to put those movies on video on demand first on Stars, which is like an American video on demand service, and streaming service. Then I don't know where they go after that. I think those movies still end up on Netflix next.
Okay.
The movies on 2022 and after, so this includes Morbius. When they're done in theaters, they get sent to a exclusivity period on Netflix. Right. So they're going to go to Netflix. This is for the U.S., by the way, but I think this is for Canada. So we're both in Canada. I think it's a similar situation, although we don't have Stars. So I think maybe they're on Crave. I don't know where they end up in Canada. But eventually, after all of that, after they're done with Netflix, then they will get put to Disney Plus. So we're like years away from them being on Disney Plus.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's go to. Let me see.
We're gonna sit. We are already on the Defenders train. We're gonna stick with the Defenders right now. So that was the thing. We're still saying the Defenders are part of the MCU. Vincent D'Onofrio talks about the Kingpin's future in this Forbes article. And we saw him supposedly die at the end of Hawkeye. So they're saying like, are we going to see him in Echo, which is another series? So it's a spin-off series from Hawkeye on Disney Plus that they're working on. He says
the deaf chick.
Yeah.
Okay.
So his quote here is
actual name.
Yeah. So what were they asking him? They said, speak on this. The character is asked about whether there were more plans for his character this year, especially with the Echo Disney series in the pipeline. He says, no, I've been through this before with Daredevil. It's very clear to them all that I really want to play this part, keep playing it. I'm just hoping that continues. I'm just beginning to have fun with it. I still think there's so much more to do with this character. So I'm just hoping that I do get a call. That would be really nice, and I would like to continue. So according to um oh yeah, responding to concerns, I think about his character, like not being as strong, I guess, in the Daredevil show. Like people are talking about his strength levels and whether this is canon or not. He says,
Yeah.
I recently, a couple of fans, they were excited about it. They were commenting about the strength I have because I'm throwing Kate Bishop around and stuff. But I totally forgot. I just saw a clip on Twitter of me and Charlie Cox fighting in Daredevil's first season. Obviously, um, the director is an incredible director. He helped develop the character of Wilson Fisk. There's a scene that we shot in the alley in a street in Brooklyn where I'm literally throwing Daredevil through the air, like I'm picking him up and swinging him 15 feet into a garbage can. I do it a few times in that fight. It's no different. It's really not. And he says, so I keep saying it's the same Fisk that was in Daredevil. It's the same canon, but people get confused about things. I understand. So straight from his mouth, he agrees with us.
Yeah, I think it's the same
Yeah.
Fisk. I can't see why
not. But yeah, so he's saying he hopes, but like his character, based on like where we ended things, and based on the comics, and based on Marvel getting the rights back to these characters, it would make sense that we would see him in Echo.
But I think if you look the same, if you're the same actor, you're the same character. I was like, if you want to be a variant, you got to be different slightly.
But do you
like,
think
all the
we're
Peter
gonna?
Parkers look different.
Do you
the
think
Lokis
we're gonna?
All different.
Do you think we're gonna see him in Echo though, or do you think we're gonna see him again, or do you think he died off screen like we saw in Hawkeye?
I always, my gut is if I don't see a body and I don't see somebody get shot, they're not dead.
Yeah.
Like as far as we know, she could have just shot next to him. But I hate off-screen deaths because I hate that we don't get the confirmation. So unless like they go back and they show her shooting him, and even then I never believe it because then even I watched what's the Suicide Squad? We watched we watched Peacemaker get shot through the chest and bleed out, or get shot through the neck and bleed out, and then fell to his death, and a building collapsed around him. And then he still has his own show after because they're like, "Oh, it's crazy, his heart was still beating." I'm like, "Yeah, fucking course it was, wasn't it?" So like, unless someone's like literally dead, and like I'm like you're still alive until they like until we're like, "Oh, good thing they're dead."
Exactly.
And it's confirmed. So I don't. I'm assuming he's probably not dead, but I don't really care much for Fisk.
Really?
I like him.
One of my favorite villains.
I like him for Daredevil. I thought it was a good.
He's also a Spider-Man
Daredevil.
villain. I'm just
I know
saying.
he's a Spider-Man villain.
I really want him as a Spider-Man villain. It's not gonna happen, but
I already got him as the Spider-Man villain in what was it? The Spider-Man. What's the Miles Morales one called?
Oh, Into the Spider-Verse, yeah.
Yeah, I got him as Into the Spider-Verse. I got him as a Daredevil villain. I don't really he doesn't really offer me much. He's just a big guy with like some strength. To me, I don't care about him as much. So I've got enough of him. And now he was a villain in Hawkeye. So I'm like, I've got enough of him. I don't need any more of him.
What I like though is he's a very smart character, and he's a very rich and powerful character. So he's always been like someone Spider-Man can't actually touch. Because like when he does, he's like, well, I'm just going to go free, or I'm just going to, keep doing what I'm doing. And then it sucks. You tried your hardest, but you still can't beat me. So I don't know. He's always been like a big thorn in Spider-Man's side. So I really like to see him as a Spider-Man character. So that's upsetting. But here's something that disagrees with our statement, though. Marvel's Daredevil and other Defender shows are not added to the MCU timeline on Disney Plus. Does that mean anything? Do you think that's significant?
No, I don't really think so. I feel like you can watch them whenever. However, I know that most of the beginning ones are talked about after
they take place.
New York.
Yeah, they take place in between, after the first Avengers movie and before. No, it's still after Civil War. like right after Civil War, like
Okay,
in between those two times.
I know one takes place like after Avengers because they just talk about the attack on New York,
Yeah,
like
most of
the
the
first
first
Jessica Jones thing.
seasons of the show take place after the first
Yeah,
Avengers movie. Someone mentions stuff in Sokovia, like they're dropping the cities on people. So that happens
yeah,
after Age of Ultron in like one of those shows.
yeah.
Um,
But to me, I don't really go over it. I just go by the year. The years are all pretty well in a line up until
they change them though to fit. Like if they change something in the movie, they change the official timeline and what years when stuff take place.
yeah. Like I
So
know, like most of the movies will say like what when they take place. They usually put like 2012 or whatever. So like I
yeah,
know the Avengers. We're New York was attacked in 2012. That's not going to change. Like
yeah, that's
that's
not
how
gonna
that
change.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you want to they made a Black Widow. They already made. We saw Black Widow die, but then they went back and made Black Widow's movie, which we know takes place in 20. I don't know, was 16 when so after Civil War
Okay. Yeah.
was released. So we
Hmm.
know like I still know it's within that year.
Yeah.
It's the further on movies like I don't know when Shang Chi takes place. If it
Oh
takes,
yeah.
I'm assuming it takes.
Well, we know.
If it does it like it takes place after the blip, right? So now if it's 2022 now in real life, in the MCU, it's 5 years ahead.
I'm
So
pulling
Shang
up.
Chi,
I'm gonna pull up Disney Plus here. I'm gonna pull it up in the browser.
Should take place in, and plus the pandemic kind of ruined some things too because stuff should have been
Hmm.
released like a couple months after
Yeah.
Endgame, and then we
Oh yeah.
and then
The
now it's
the
been a
year
little.
that the movies or shows release is not the year
Yeah.
that it takes place
No,
in
I
that
know, but
stuff.
they used to be kind of
It
more
used
close
to
to
be.
that. Like
Yeah.
they would. That's why like now I don't really know as much. So if you want to talk about the shows, I
Mhm.
think most of them take place like after Avengers and Civil War, but because they've added more seasons after, I haven't watched each season of everything. I think I've watched I watched
Mhm.
2 seasons of Daredevil, I watched 2 seasons of Punisher, and then I think I
So,
watched one season of everything else.
so
So they're I
yeah.
can't really.
So according to Disney Plus, as of now, again, stuff could change, but as of now, um, WandaVision, then Falcon and Winter Soldier, then Shang-Chi, then Eternals, then Hawkeye. Spider-Man is
Yeah,
missing from this list, keep in mind, because it's not on Disney Plus. But it's assumed it takes place before slash on the same time as Hawkeye,
yeah,
like
okay.
right before the Hawkeye finale.
Right. Plus nobody knows who Peter Parker is anymore, so who cares?
Okay, so there's also a thing about a Daredevil reboot. You know what? I'm not going to talk about a rumor like that. Let's just skip on. Hey, let's talk about
No,
Morbius.
I'm getting yeah, I gotta. There's only a few more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about. We'll do the Guardians game another day because I'll give you more
Yeah.
time to see if you can play it because then we can talk about it together.
Okay.
We'll do Morbius, and I wanted to see that Black Panther thing you wrote there. I wanted to talk about that.
It's kind of like a it's kind of a hot topic thing. So I don't know if we actually should,
Oh, okay.
but
You could
maybe
just
we
tell me.
can.
You could just tell me after.
It'll go. Yeah. It'll get into like political discussion. Um, but Morbius, yeah. There's a lot of negativity around this movie. We haven't seen it yet. Right? You haven't seen it yet, I'm assuming.
I did not.
Yeah.
I was asking Jess if neither one of us really cared right away to go see it, and then I had some friends at work who went and saw it, and they said it was
Yeah.
they said there was some cool things, but they said that if you're looking for a story, this one's pretty much non-existent. I
Yeah. I've
was like,
just
oh,
been
that's disappointing.
hearing nothing but bad things about it. Um, Apparently it also breaks some stuff with the MCU. Like they're trying to set up stuff, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't fit with what we know. So that's kind of concerning. For me at this point, this we know this takes place in the same universe as Venom. The directors for both movies say a Spider-Man exists in this universe. We just don't know which one that is.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of people want it to be Andrew Garfield, I saw.
I think based on like the trailers and stuff, which we will get into, it's I came to the conclusion it makes the most sense for it to take place in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. The only thing that I think would contradict it is in Venom, Let There Be Carnage. There was a Ravencroft Institute, and it was a very different Ravencroft in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. But you don't have any other conflicts that would exist with the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans because a Venom already existed in that universe, or in the MCU because they already established it's not part of the MCU. So it would make sense if it was a Spider-Man that we already know and are familiar with. It would make sense for this universe to exist in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. The Ravencroft thing is the one exception, but one is a sort of psych facility in New York.
Yeah.
Another one is a like a sort of like institute or like a different type of building in San Francisco. They're two different places with the same name. Otherwise, there's no other conflicts there. But it could be something else. It could be a different Spider-Man that we don't know yet. But based on this trailer, apparently there's a lot of lies in these trailers. A lot of the Spider-Man references, not in the movies. There's also an article I have pinned here. I'm not going to pull it up. The director for Morbius, he was asked about it. He's like, what was with the Spider-Man teasers and the trailers? They weren't in the movies at all. He's like, I don't know. Sony added them in there. So it wasn't even intended in the trailer. So they're trying to promote this as a Spider-Man movie, and it's not.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that because I didn't think it was a Spider-Man movie. I didn't even think he was a Spider-Man villain because I don't know anything about this
Well,
character.
in the trailer there was a Spider-Man graffiti. There was an
Yeah, I do
Oscorp
remember.
building. There was references to Rhino and Black Cat and the Daily Bugle, and
Yeah,
references to Venom. There's all of that stuff in these trailers.
yeah, yeah. You know what? With
And
I don't.
freaking Vulture. Vulture's in these trailers.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about him from watching most of it. I didn't know
Yeah.
any of that until he said when he did the I am Venom joke.
Yeah.
Then I was like, then that's when you told me he was a Spider-Man villain. I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. And I saw the Spider-Man graffiti and stuff. I just thought
Yeah.
that was like supposed to be after the amazing after the Spider-Man movie. Like it was just like
Yeah,
I
but
don't
it was
know.
also confusing because it was Sam Raimi Spider-Man. It
Yeah,
was character. It was like a still art from the Spider-Man game, and it said murderer on it, which was assuming it's Tom Holland Spider-Man.
yeah.
So it was so
I
weird.
uh I can't wait till I want to see the MC. Well, I guess not. I don't know. Whatever MCU or Sony, whoever
The
wants to. I
Sony,
would.
the oh shoot, what are they calling it now? Sony's Marvel Universe or something like that. The SMU.
Yeah, that's the new. I just want to see. I want to see a Black Cat movie,
Yes.
or at least with Spider-Man. I want to see a Spider Gwen movie, like her. It'd be so cool, I think, to make her origin where she loses Peter Parker, and
Yeah.
you can still do the same kind of thing where she gets bit by a spider at Oscorp and she loses Peter Parker, and then she's like the badass kind of
Well,
lone girl who's
yeah.
just does her own thing. I think it'd be so cool to see a Spider Gwen,
Well, let's
a live action Miles Morales, all that.
well
It'd be
let's
so
talk
cool.
about what's coming up because we have some ideas. Okay, so there's a Spider-Man spin-off in the works called Madam Web. That's what Sony's working on. It's one of the
Yeah,
movies next. There's that and Kraven the Hunter. Um, so Madam Web, they're starting to cast the movie. So we have
yeah.
Dakota Johnson is in talks for Madam Web. I think it's rumored
Is she
that
a
she's
villain?
well, we don't know
What's
yet.
Madame
We
Web?
don't know yet.
I don't know. Okay.
She's a central. She could be a central character that would result in a lot of other movies being made. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
If you want a lot more Spider-Man and Spider-Verse stuff,
Yeah.
she's the character. So yeah, I think we're assuming that Dakota Johnson is gonna star as Madam Web.
Hmm.
I'm assuming. Um, we don't know too much about the movie. We do know another casting though.
Why does this character look familiar and I've never seen her before? Is she
She
from?
was
Is
in the
she?
animated show, like the '90s animated show.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe that's
know.
where you saw
Maybe I
her.
did. Maybe I did watch that. That looks sounds familiar. Was she? She wasn't in
She was in
Avengers
Spider.
Ultimate Alliance. Was she?
Maybe I don't remember. She was in Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. If you
I think
played
she
that
looks.
game.
I don't
Um,
know.
but we have another casting. Um, Sydney Sweeney to co-star opposite Dakota Johnson. Now people a lot of like asking like who can she be playing? Um, my guess, if I'm to guess, I would say she's playing Julia Carpenter, who is a Spider Woman. So she could
Yeah.
be playing Spider Woman.
I
That's my
just hope they
guess.
make. However they do Spider Gwen, I hope they make her look like the Spider Gwen from the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse because I liked that
Well, she's pretty
fuzz
close to the
hair
comics.
look. Yeah, yeah. I was like, she was really cool. Spider Gwen is a really
She
cool
didn't have that
character.
buzz haircut in the comics. That was
I
for the
think
story in Spider Verse because he ripped her hair off. But
I think she looks great in that. That's
yeah,
a has a sweet look. I like that Spider Gwen look with the hoodie
yeah.
thing that she has, like the hoodie sort of mask. Oh, it's so
Oh
cool.
yeah, the costume's the same from the comic for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one of the coolest
iconic.
costumes ever.
Yeah, for sure.
I love the Spider Gwen costume. It looks sick.
We have some more casting though for Kraven the Hunter. This is Christopher Abbott is playing the Foreigner.
I
Did
don't know anything about this
you
character.
don't know about the Foreigner? Classic
No,
Marvel
or
character. For I don't know anything about the Foreigner either. I'm a
Craven the
big
Hunter.
Spider-Man
And then
fan.
no,
I don't
yeah,
remember who the Foreigner is. Like
yeah.
I'm drawing blanks. I'm sorry. I don't know who the hell uh this is.
Why don't we do Spider Gwen or Black Cat? People who know more than Craven the
So
Hunter.
Black Cat and Silver Sable were in like they were in the works, and then they were going to make them one movie called Silver and Black or something like that. And then those plans changed, and now I think maybe they're developing TV shows for them. I don't
Hmm.
remember. The only TV show that I know is kind of in the works right now is Silk, which is another Spider-Man spin-off character, which
Hmm.
I'm excited for. I would look forward to that. But Kraven the
Was
Hunter,
it?
iconic Spider-Man villain. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's not Morbius. Hopefully it's
I
good.
want. I don't know how to do it. I always wanted Rhino as a villain, and I didn't know
We
how they were
got
gonna
that.
make him cool. Yeah. Well,
Paul
I don't know if
Giamatti.
I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I accept that.
It's a,
I wanted a cool Rhino villain,
you
and we
never
got
know with
that,
Sony. Like for
and I didn't
Marvel,
like it that much.
yeah.
I want Scorpion still though. I think
That
Scorpion
was
would be
my
sweet.
question for I forgot about that. For Spider-Man No Way Home. What happened to Scorpion? He was in the first of all, Vulture, like they were setting up Vulture to come back. He never did. But now we know the
Yeah.
answer to that. He's in Morbius. So we'll figure out how that works when we watch the movie, or if
Yeah.
it doesn't work. Scorpion though, Scorpion was like they were setting up like him to be a character, and the in the home trilogy for like the Homecoming trilogy for Spider-Man, he never showed up again.
Yeah. I don't know. It could just be. I always feel like with MCU when they do those setups,
Mm-hmm.
anything could be a setup. It doesn't mean they have to follow through with it. They just like it's there,
Like the
and we should
leader
put
and
it
the
in case
Hulk.
we want to. Yeah, or what's his name? The guy at the end of Doctor Strange. Like he was supposed to be a villain, but it's been
Mordo.
like
Well, we're
yeah,
gonna
and
see him. We're
now
gonna see him.
right, right. But Doctor Strange came out 2016, so it's been
Yeah,
like
good point.
7 years. So like
Yeah,
we've it's been a while. We still might get a Scorpion, but
yeah.
it might be another 7 years. Who knows? Like we don't know. And every I think there's lots that the MCU wants to do. It just
Mm-hmm.
with the owning with rights and stuff of who
Yeah.
you own and for how long, like that, then it
I
fucking ruins plans, and I hate
I
that
also
shit.
think that they have kind of a mindset like I don't know if it's changed now because they're implementing they're trying to like shoehorn in old stuff that doesn't relate to the MCU like the Spider-Man stuff or the X-Men stuff. Um, that like, oh yeah, let's be nostalgic or whatever. But there was a point in time when Spider-Man Homecoming was around where, hey, these movies and these characters existed in other studio properties, but we're going to start fresh. We're not going to introduce a Green Goblin or Norman Osborn, which that was another question I had. They're saying that Oscorp doesn't exist in the MCU. Does Norman Osborn exist in the MCU? I have questions about
Yeah.
that. Well, we won't get into this podcast because I feel like that's a long discussion. Then there's yeah, so they're kind of starting fresh. There's no Green Goblin, there's no Doctor Octopus. Let's use new villains that we haven't seen before, new side characters and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
for Marvel, I feel like they wouldn't introduce another Rhino if they had another Spider-Man movie in the works.
No.
For Sony, who knows? Who knows what they're gonna do? They put out Morbius, you know. My only
Yeah.
saving grace for Morbius now is that if Jared Leto played a somewhat of an interesting character that can have a future, because like Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Carnage was cool. Not Cletus Cassidy. Carnage was cool. Venom's kind of cool still, even though the movie sucked. If we
Yeah.
can see them in other movies and they're still cool characters in another movie, I want that as Morbius at this point.
Yeah,
Did
Carnage was just a good CGI. The
Yeah,
movie was terrible.
the movie was terrible. So Morbius could be
Oh
a
god.
terrible movie, but is there saving grace for the character? Can he appear in other movies and I'll be like, cool, it's Morbius? Or
Yeah, I mean, you can have a bad origin movie
yeah,
and then still have, save your character. I'm trying to think of who we've had. Like, I know a lot of people didn't really like not so much the first one, but everybody hated the second Thor.
yeah,
And even Thor himself, Hemsworth didn't want to do another movie until he read Ragnarok, and he was like, "Oh fuck yeah, I'll do that." And now he's doing a bunch more because they
hmm
saved his character.
yeah,
But he
and now he
hates
likes the
Dark. The
character.
Dark World. Dark World is fucking terrible. So
I'm a defender of Dark World. I think Dark World's a good movie.
it has
I
parts in it I like, but I don't watch it all the time. It's not like I'm not
It is an
super
important
into it.
movie to the MCU. There's a lot that happened that affects like later
Yeah,
movies, but
yeah,
yeah, it's not the best MCU movie, but I don't think like even like the worst MCU movie, I still think is a good MCU movie.
yeah,
That's just me. But I again, a lot of people hated that movie. You are right.
yeah.
So
I think it'd be cool if we got Andrew Garfield because he wanted to have like a really cool villain. I think it'd be really cool if he got to fight Lizard or not Lizard, Scorpion, but they
Scorpion,
did
yeah.
but they did Scorpion differently. I don't know how. I don't want a metal suit, and I don't really want a guy transforming himself
Um,
into
Yeah, I don't. It makes sense in
Scorpion.
that
I don't
I,
know.
I think he would transform because I think that's the universe. So they set up the characters in that
Yeah,
movie. They're more animal based. There's also like a spin off game
yeah,
that kind of delve deeper. Like a lot of the villains, I think Scorpion wasn't in that game actually. Like a lot of the
yeah.
villains are based on animal experiments, just like the lizard. So I think Scorpion could make sense in that universe, but I think they would go. He turns into a scorpion, like the
Yeah,
lizard did.
I don't know if you remember in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you said there does Norman Osborn or whatever exist in the MCU. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not really sure if he does because at one point he goes like he's like there's someone he's like he goes and visits his house and his building. He's like
Yeah,
I
but he
built
says,
Oscorp isn't there.
yeah, he
He's
says
like someone
someone
else is living in my
else
house.
is living in my house. He doesn't say who,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he says Oscorp doesn't exist. We don't know if
yeah.
Norman Osborn doesn't, because if they're setting up that Norman Osborn does not exist in the MCU, it's such a missed opportunity for so many different kinds of stories.
Maybe he
Um,
doesn't exist yet.
yeah,
Maybe like
I hope
maybe
so.
they're because like you could easily remember what we were saying about how we wanted the Stark Tower
Hmm.
to be sold to Norman Osborn or to become Oscorp.
Yeah,
We thought that'd be cool. It could still do something like that. Maybe this, our Norman Osborn isn't a well-known CEO yet, and he's just up and coming. So when he goes to the building, he's like, maybe it's not the Tony's old place, but maybe it is. Maybe he goes there and it's like it says foreclosed or it says sold or whatever, and it's not up yet. Who knows? Like I'm just like there's so many. It's so unanswered. So you could
yeah,
still say that like Oscorp's gonna come back. You just don't. He's just not. Maybe he's not a CEO yet in his time period. And Tony Stark was there first. There's no Tony Stark in their worlds because they don't even know what the Avengers
You don't
are
know.
or any of that
You
stuff.
could still be like he could be like a drunk guy that just
Sure,
like
sure.
that didn't
Yeah,
get his armor because he didn't
yeah,
go.
or yeah, or he died. Maybe he
Yeah, he already
died in
died.
the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. So there's all kinds of options. I would still like to see a Norman Osborn in the MCU. I think it'd be cool. Or if they
Oh,
at least brought back Andrew Garfield's,
yeah.
I think would be cool.
Also, this I know we said we're gonna take this conversation to another time, but a big question about Oscorp not existing. How does Spider-Man exist in the MCU? What spider bit him? Isn't it that it's an Oscorp spider
Yeah.
that bites him and he gets his powers? How? I guess we're gonna have to wait for the animated show now. But like, how?
Yeah,
What spider bit Spider-Man?
I know. I always like that's I think why I liked Andrew Garfield's the best because it wasn't just some spider on like a field trip for
It was.
Tobey
It was. He
Maguire's.
was trying to get. He was trying to get answers
No,
from
Toby.
his.
Yeah, but Tobey Maguire's was just a random spider on a field trip that got
Yeah.
him. Tom Holland's we're not
Wasn't
sure
it an
of. Andrew,
Oscorp spider though?
I think so or something. But what I liked with Andrew Garfield's is why it gave him abilities because like if anybody got bit by that spider, like it doesn't really make sense why they don't get the powers
It was tied to his
unless
DNA
it's
in that movie though.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why I liked Andrew Garfield's because it said that his dad was working on these genetically engineered
Mm.
spiders and was using his own DNA. So when that spider bit him, the DNA of the spider matched his dad's kind of, and it mixed with his. And I was like, oh, that's a cool, like that makes sense why like he gets powers or didn't kill
Yeah.
him or who knows what. And I was like, that's cool. I think that's so much better.
Okay, let's rapid fire some last minute things here. Okay.
Sure.
So we can move on. Um, First of all, I want to end by saying I hope like Morbius is saving grace and that there's still some hope for the Sony Spider-Man universe because I was looking forward to what they were building. Now, not so much if this movie's like hot garbage as everybody says, and because of Venom, Let There Be Carnage. If it's gonna be miss after miss, then I don't
Yeah.
know how I feel about it.
Yeah, stop rushing movies.
Yeah,
Don't give me Venom or don't give me Carnage, but then put me in an hour and a half movie and have no development between the host and Carnage.
Well,
I was like, you guys,
what do you think about the trailer lying that it's like they promoted it like they marketed it as something to do with Spider-Man, but then they got rid of all that stuff in the movie, or it was never included in the movie to begin with.
um, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they forgot about Spider Man. I don't know.
Yeah,
uh,
that's the answer
no,
for everything. Nobody knows what
yeah.
Spider-Man.
If the trailer came out before Spider Man, and then everything happened, and now nobody knows why Spider Man wasn't in Morbius. No, I don't know. I don't like the idea of them lying.
Yeah.
I also I haven't seen it, so I don't really have my take on it yet. I thought the trailer, the first one, the teaser, I think I watched. I think I thought it was cool. I thought watching him fly around was kind of stupid looking, but I thought other than that, I thought his powers and stuff looked interesting. But from what I've been told, I've just been told it was not very good. So, and he's
Yeah.
not a character I care too much about. So, we'll see. I just don't really want Sony's hands on anything anymore. It's like
Yeah,
I
a
was like
lot of
Disney
people
and
feel that way.
I was like,
It's
just let Disney do it. They're
it's
hitting
kind
home run
of
after home run.
we kind of have to deal with what we have though, you know.
Yeah.
So that's it's above us. It's a legal thing. So I want to mention something I missed in the Defenders talk. So the since they've been added to Disney Plus and you know they're more mature shows, which a lot more violence, a lot more sexual stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of you know it's very not for kids, right? Disney Plus is also introducing a new like parental feature as well for more mature shows, so they can introduce them to Disney Plus.
Right.
But because of that, Disney Plus was slammed by Parents Council for adding mature rated Marvel shows. Okay, stay mad. Anyways, let's go to the next thing. Marvel is I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about that? Like I don't.
No, I like Disney Plus just because it's called Disney Plus. It's their
Yeah.
company's name. It
Like
doesn't mean they
this is
only
for
make.
kids. Like that's their argument. Like
Yeah.
you're promoting this for kids. Okay, you get to choose what your kids watch, and they're giving
Yeah.
you parental features. Now they also own this other content that their other customers want to watch, and they have the
Yeah.
ability to do that.
There's Star Predators on Star that's in Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So why don't you get mad about that?
Yeah,
I was
I
like
don't.
Predator. My
It's
parents made me watch Predator when I was 4 years old. Okay.
yeah, it's
All right,
not
I'm
their
still scarred.
responsibility to babysit your kids. I'm sick of like lazy parents trying to make excuses for them not wanting to raise their kids and then taking it out on everybody else. You raise your
My
kids.
dad.
I want to watch Daredevil beat the shit out of some people. So
It's honestly it just depends on the person, man.
yeah,
Like I watched my dad made me watch Predator when I was 4 years old. My
There
mom
you
thought
go.
he was insane.
And he turned out all right.
Yeah. I love my dad. He's awesome.
Yeah.
And Predator is one of my favorite aliens slash movies. It is so good.
Mhm.
And I watched it when I was 4 years old. Yeah, I slept with my parents for like 6 months after that at 4 years old. But my dad said to me, he goes, "It's just a movie. They're wearing a costume." And I was like, "All right, cool." And then we watched it, and I seen this thing like with his mouth all open up, and I watched what's his name? Who's the guy? The sergeant guy that's with um I don't know his name. I don't even Arnold Schwarzenegger, his friend in the movie.
I
His
didn't watch
sergeant
the
is
movie.
friend.
I'm sorry.
Well, I watched the guy's arm get blown off.
My parents
all right?
didn't make me watch that movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched the guy's arm get blown off at 4 years old, and I was like, "You can lose those." Like I didn't even know arms could come off of humans. So like it was wild. I learned a lot in that movie.
There you go. Make your kids watch Daredevil.
But
Anyway.
about this though, I thought was really funny is I have a coworker of mine who
Yeah.
I introduced into the MCU, and she loved it. She started watching them all. I sent her the list. She watched them all in order, minus
Which order?
all like the order that they came out.
Okay.
So I told her to watch them in the order that way. Any like like even though Marvel was technically or Captain Marvel would be like the second one, I was like, don't watch that one first, obviously, because the end credits won't make sense to Endgame, right? So I told her to watch them in the order that they're released. And this was like a year, I don't know, this was before Endgame came out. So she watched all of them. She loved them. Then she went to the theater and she watched Endgame. She loved it. Her and her sister, they watched them all. They're 60 something. They're like, "Jordan, we love this." She's like, "I watch Guardians of the Galaxy like twice a week because it's my favorite." She loves Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. They're her favorite. She's like, "Those are my favorite movies." She's like, regardless of any other movies, like she's like, "I love the Guardians of the Galaxy." So I'm like, "That's awesome."
Awesome.
She got Disney Plus, and I told her, "Well, now you can watch the Defenders because they're all on there." And then she went on her Disney Plus, and she couldn't find them, and she was like, "I was like, yeah, they're like there's like a whole page for them, like they're kind of like they're promoting them and showing you that they're on there now." And I got her phone, and she showed me her Disney Plus, and she didn't have any of that on there, and I had to go into her parental settings, and her parental settings are actually listed to TV 14, and she's a 60-year-old woman. And I showed her phone. I'm like, "Here." I was like, "You have everything hidden from rated R and rated mature." And she's like, "Oh my God." So I clicked the mature thing for her. And I'm like, I was like, "You're 60 years old. I think you can watch whatever you want." So I set it up for her, and now she jokes about being a big girl. And she came to work the next day. She goes, "Jordan, there is so much stuff
There
on
you
Disney
go.
Plus." She goes, "I had no idea."
There you go.
So
So screw you to the parents' council that are like ruining. We don't give a shit about your kids. You care about your kids.
Yeah, I was like, it's super easy. I was like, I went on there and I changed it to her, and you can do the same thing. You can change it to just kid stuff. You could change it to 14 plus.
You have the ability to control what you want.
Yeah, exactly. So it didn't even show her any of the new Defender stuff, and it didn't highlight any of it or promote it. It didn't even. I searched it for her, and I'm like, that's weird. And I look at my phone; it's showing me everything. Hers didn't find anything, so I had to go and change.
They're doing that. They're probably doing that by default, so that way you don't see that stuff right away. To appease the parents. So there
I
you go.
told her to go check Star and stuff after, and she's like, "There's so many more like rated mature movies on there." And I was like, "Yeah, I was like, you can watch sex and murder now." So
there you go.
Enjoy.
Speaking of murder, Marvel's working on a Werewolf by Night Halloween special for Disney Plus, which assuming is going to be a part of the MCU because Marvel Studios is making it. Quick note is Moon Knight sort of made his appearance in Werewolf by Night. And and we're watching Moon Knight right now, which I don't think we're gonna have time to go into our thoughts on Moon Knight.
We'll talk about Moon Knight maybe a little bit later. We can
Yeah.
talk about our thoughts on where it's at, and then when we finish it, maybe.
Yeah. So we've seen the first 2 episodes so far. First of all, just first impressions, great show, and just my initial thoughts on the first 2 episodes. It's like what I was hoping to get out of it, I did. So
yeah,
take that what you will. You've probably seen all the other MCU stuff if you're watching this podcast. You're probably going to watch it either way, but I would recommend watching it. It's great.
Yeah, because all Disney Plus does is make home runs. Like they freaking kill it. And Oscar Isaac, his performance is like, into the 2 episodes I've watched, they're like 50 minutes apiece. Like his performance is phenomenal. Like I love him as Moon Knight. I like Moon Knight. I didn't really know a whole lot about him, and just his costume, a little bit of the powers I've seen. Awesome character. Super. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So do you think it this is probably the first time hearing about this news, but do you think it's going to tie into this? Do you think by the end of Moon Knight we're going to see like a tease for Werewolf by Night?
I don't see why not. I don't know much about this, but I like werewolves. So this looks cool. I'm down for this.
We're going to get werewolves and vampires in the MCU. We're going to have a whole like Twilight situation going on.
Yeah. I don't care about vampires. I think werewolves are sick though. They're kind of like, I kind of like that, but that's kind of like why I like the Hulk. I like that human by day, and then like you can be a monster and just be terrible.
I think we're gonna get Blade, and then you are going to care about vampires. That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Blade goes.
Speaking of Disney Plus and censoring stuff, despite everything that we said, they are censoring stuff, and I don't know how to feel about this. So they're not censoring stuff for the Marvel shows. I mean, for the Netflix original shows or whatever. They're censoring like Falcon and Winter Soldier scenes. Which I don't know if this is muted or not. Yeah, so here's an example. And I'm not gonna, oh my god, I can't watch the full screen video. I don't know if I can show the context rectangle for this because it needs full context. This is the original clip, which I remember from when we first watched it because we watched it when it was released. So Winter Soldier's beating down some people and he pins this woman to the like the tanker there, right?
Right.
So she's like pinned with the thing stuck in her arm. This is the current version that you can watch. And I checked because some people are saying like, I see the original. I see the revised one. I checked and it's all changed for me. Everything's censored for me. There was even an article saying like, oh yeah, there was a glitch. It pulled up like a different version of the video file, I guess, on Disney Plus. Like things switched over from our server and then we corrected it and it's back. That's not true because it's changed for me. I tested it out after the fact. So everything is changed. Everything's censored. So this is the current version. He, same thing, tosses the spike. It bounces off of her. She's still acting like she's pinned, but it bounces off of her. So she's pinned to nothing.
Can you hit? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just one example. There's another one. I don't know if it's gonna, maybe this, is it the same? Oh, this is unlisted. Ooh, interesting. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can find the other one because it's a much bigger example. They don't have it here, but there was, oh shoot.
That's your job. You have to go and make scenes less cool.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay,
like, oh my God.
Here's the original scene.
Amazing.
So this is the original at the top here when this guy gets shot by Zemo. Blood everywhere, eyes open. The updated one, they closed his eyes, no blood at all. Doesn't even look like he got shot.
Why not just put at the, like, instead of whatever, I guess. Don't it then put that in the, like, for the 14 section then. Like you can watch this because there's no blood and stuff on it, but your kids can still watch.
Because they want it to be like accessible to as a big of an audience as possible. For that one.
Or why not just put both footages? Like, give me mine as an adult. I want to watch that.
Yeah, it should be based on your settings.
And then the settings, you put the video with not that. I think that makes more sense to me. Why would I want like I want to see the blood and stuff because it doesn't bother me as I'm watching TV. And I don't know if your kid can't watch that yet, then don't let them fucking watch that yet. Like just
Yeah,
let
I
them
mean,
watch like why would they want to watch this yet? If your kid can't even watch like the Avengers and stuff yet, then why are you letting your kid watch the stuff that doesn't make sense yet?
like, and there's like arguments like the creative artistic vision for like maybe if this was intended like they
Yeah.
to have this more censored version, then that's why they changed it if that's like the original creator's intent. And this is their property, like they can choose what they want to do. And they've censored stuff in the past when Disney Plus launched. There's that movie, I know a lot of people were talking about that, where a character shows like a butt crack. She's like nude on a beach. And
Yeah.
they digitally made her hair longer to cover her butt. I mean, they've been known to do that before. But this was something that was released on their platform as the original thing up there, and then they later decided they didn't want to do that, and they updated it. It's so weird to me. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. But this overall, I don't think it is as huge of a deal though, because overall it's two scenes in the
Yeah.
show that really don't change much of the context.
No, yeah, I don't care that much. I feel like I mean, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna watch your stuff, whether it's for kids, if it's, I mean, just don't make it too much for kids.
Yeah.
Like, if you kill somebody that's not that important to the show or not, I feel like I still think you could just easily just do the settings though. Like,
Yeah.
if
It should be
I'm
tied
my
to your
stuff,
settings.
if my stuff's set to mature,
Yeah.
then let me see the blood and stuff because I accepted that. And if your kid wants to watch a guy die with literally no harm to him, then he can still do that. Like I don't understand. Like your kid's still seeing a dead person, whether he has a little tiny bit of red on him or not. Like I don't understand.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's that really is the good point.
Like I'm not gonna make my kid's not gonna watch this. Once he gets to like grade 8, like I feel like he can watch. I feel like I can watch this. I don't know. I watched Dexter at that age, and I was fine. Like or whatever. Whatever the hell Dexter aired, I started watching it. My kid's not gonna watch this till like however many years from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they have all he's gonna watch like a Spider-Man where he's like, Spider-Man's trying to figure out how to save a cat from a tree with his webs and shit. And I'm like, yeah, and we're gonna do a 40-minute episode on how the hell he gets this cat out of the tree as Spider-Man. They have stuff like that. You can watch your kids can watch that stuff.
Well, some final things here. There's a Nova project in the works with Moon Knight writer. Um, so we're finally getting it. It's been rumored for the longest time. We're finally getting a Nova project. Do you know
Yeah.
anything about Nova?
Is Nova the Nova Corps from Xandar?
Uh, it's related to that. There is I'm not like a huge knowledge base on Nova. There are two main characters that are like take on that mantle.
Yeah.
And they do have ties to the Nova Corps. Um, one is like a lot of people are saying like which one is it going to be? For me, if they're working on this, it's going to be both. There's going to be I think that's just typical Marvel style. They're going to introduce both characters. So
Yeah. I got about 7 more minutes.
let's wrap it up.
Nova, I don't know anything about that then, but I am excited if they do anything about Nova Corps because I want
Yeah.
to know more about Nova Corps after playing the Guardians of the Galaxy game because it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool, and I really think it'd be cool if we got like just a little bit more Thanos because I love him. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be cool if they made like a little, even if it's at the if it's unrelated to this, whatever. I think it'd be cool if they made something in the MCU that showed Thanos decimating Xandar. I think that would
I
be
think
fun.
that I think there's going to be at least a reference to that in
Yeah.
whatever this is. William Hurt, the person who played General Ross, has died. Um,
Oh really?
yeah, you didn't know that? This was back in the middle of March. Looks like.
I think I heard that he passed away, but I forgot I forgot. Like I didn't know the name to the actor. I don't
Yeah.
really know him other than General Ross. So.
We last
Uh,
saw him in Black Widow, and I think there's a planned future for him. I would imagine he's going to make a post-mortem appearance in She-Hulk. So,
Oh yeah.
but I don't know. We don't know yet. I'm sure Marvel will like announce something maybe before She-Hulk airs, but um and finally, I just want to end on something fun and not something depressing. So here's just a quick thought that somebody and I remember seeing this when I watched the movie. Remember in the original Doctor Strange, the final scene in Hong Kong where Caecilius opens the portal
Yeah.
to for to like
Dormammu.
Dormammu or whatever. So they open up a
Yeah.
portal to the street. A car is driving and just like crossfades into the portal.
Right.
That does that make sense? Because I feel like it should have run Caecilius and his other people over.
I remember. I remember that scene. I remember it being weird, but like at this very moment, I don't remember this. Yes. Okay, I do remember that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. That it should. It definitely should have. Why? Where did this come from?
This somebody noticed it on Reddit. I think they're like, I was watching Doctor Strange and then this scene just doesn't make sense. And I
I
agree.
don't know.
I remember thinking that when I would rewatch the movie, and I'm like, why? That's not how the portals work. It should
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
like
Things go through.
if it spawned as the car was driving, it should have cut the car in half because we've seen that
Yeah.
happen with these portals where they just cut stuff.
I got
Um,
magic and shit. Maybe they just threw the
yeah.
car to the fucking side and then kept going.
Well,
And then kept
when
walking.
this, I think they have a screenshot when they go through. I think the car is behind them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't know.
the car's just like it just really. They shouldn't have
Yeah.
had the car drive it. They should have just had an open street rather than
I think a lot of things get lost in editing. Like someone's
yeah.
like, I think it'd be really cool for a car to like get to go through a
They
portal.
should have
Someone's like, yeah,
they
and
should have
then
digitally edited out the car if they
yeah,
realized
and
that
then
it didn't work at that point.
yeah, and then some people were like, oh, I think it'd be really cool if we open a portal and then the bad guys come through and they're like, yeah, cool. And then like while they're doing stuff, someone's like, oh, you put the car through the same portal.
Yeah.
So
Or
like
make the
I think
portal appear after the car drove past that point.
yeah. I mean, dude, I see bad editing all the time. I love Endgame so much.
Oh yeah, there's several inconsistencies there, I think.
Oh,
Especially
there's
with
so many.
Ant-Man. Like Ant-Man shrinks
Yeah,
down and he's like, I'm going to go to the van. But also at the next shot,
scene
he's
in the
giant and
background.
like putting
In the
a
next,
thing in the
yeah,
portal.
he's putting a Leviathan through the portal in the next
Yeah.
scene, and I'm like, you're gonna get a headache switching back and forth that much, bro. I was like, how are you big then little, then big, then little, and every time, every single moment
Yeah.
that Thanos loses his sword, he picks it up at his feet in the next scene. I'm like, how is it always at your feet? Every time. And there's one where he
Yeah.
throws it, and then Thor slides under it, and then right before he attacks Thanos, Thanos' sword comes back like it has like a fucking whirlwind and like is already back in his hands. I'm like, how is it that fast? I'm like, it's not that fast. And like, I remember there's one specifically that he throws forward and then he's beating the crap or what is it? Thor grabs it, hooks it with the Stormbreaker, and
Yeah.
launches it, and then he's beating the shit out of Captain Thor, and he's way over here. And then in the next scene, when he gets hit by Mjolnir,
Yeah.
he just has the sword in his hand. I'm like, how? I'm like, how?
Yeah, because a
Holy
lot of that pre-visual stuff for Endgame was made way before those like scenes were shot. So yeah, a
yeah.
lot of stuff just didn't add up. They tried to do the best they
There's
could.
so many bad editings. They should have
Yeah.
at least if they did it once where they just showed like
Well, as big
I don't
as
know.
epic as that movie is, I think it kind of like overshadowed all that stuff. So it kind of like works out.
Yeah.
Like you can
Yeah.
ignore all that.
I
Just
know.
like
I've
this, you
just
can
watched it
ignore
too many
this
times. I
bullshit.
know. Because I've watched Endgame too many times, and I'm like,
Yeah.
just that goddamn sword, man. I was like, it's kind of like Cap's shield. I'm like, that thing doesn't defy the laws of physics at all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where we're going to end it here. We are tight on time. The next time you will see us, we will be talking about Moon Knight, Jordan's playthrough of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm rewatching the Netflix shows. So like we just finished Defenders. We're gonna start Punisher soon. So I will give like my thoughts on rewatching that because I think there's a lot to talk about there and how it involves the MCU and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
I would love if you played a little bit of Guardians too.
I will play it. I just gotta find. You know what? I have some time this week. I'll probably play it this week.
It's
So.
amazing campaign. Like every time I thought like my second playthrough
Mhm.
is so much fun, but my first playthrough, every time I thought it was like this is gonna be like the last mission, it just kept going.
Oh, nice.
However, there's a little bit more bugs in the first. For some reason, there was a lot more bugs in my first playthrough. My second playthrough, like all the bugs are gone. It's weird.
Okay.
But Mike had a lot of bugs the first playthrough. Mine, well, my biggest issue with Guardians, I'll explain more like later. But most of it was like I'd be watching the people talk, like my partners talk, like Rocket and Drax are talking,
Hmm.
and if I somewhere else to do like get collectibles, I couldn't hear them anymore. And then I look back and they're talking. So like if I wasn't facing them, like the audio was broken. Like, but then
Yeah.
my second playthrough, I could walk around and their audio would trade
Yeah.
off like how it's normally. And
A
I was
lot
like,
of those, like dialogue kind of games, I find that's a common thing, like a common kind of glitch on those, which is weird. Um, but yeah, that's it. That's it for us. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. We don't have a release schedule. We just do these whenever we have time. So yeah, if you have any questions about anything we talked about or stuff coming up in the future, theories or stuff like that, leave them in the comments. I'll read them and then we might bring them up in the next show. But thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.